Yes, hello, welcome to your daily dose of drama and tears and elation and celebration. It is the Absa Cape Epic and it's stage 4, day 5, coming to you from Wellington. A fantastic day in prospect today because it's the Queen stage as they make their way from Worcester over the mountains to Wellington. It's got just about everything you could wish for in mountain biking. A man who knows a lot about this route, he's ridden it, is Christoph Sauser from the Absa Cape Epic organization. Christoph, thanks for joining us.
Thank you, Gerald.
Once more. You've just briefly, encapsulate today's stage, what it's about.
Today's stage it starts off with quite technical type of riding, pure mountain biking, kind of you feel like the essence of mountain biking. Technical trails, dusty, rocky, tight, single track.
Bit of sand
in there as well because of the droughts. The sand is definitely worsened since we rode it. And then it goes on to the Baines-Kloof Pass. A 9 kilometer stretch of tar. The climb piece is 9 kilometers long, and then from the top of the pass it's a straight drop down to the finish here in Wellington.
Right, and of course the trails around Wellington are legendary already. So once you get to the top of the Baines-Kloof, it's going to be a fantastic flow down to Huguenot High School, which is where we are in Wellington. So one night in Worcester, almost like the old Absa Cape Epic of the past, where one night on and move on. And yesterday was full of drama and incident. So let's reflect on stage number 3 at the Absa Cape Epic. On stage 3 of the 2018 Absa Cape Epic, the world's premier mountain bike stage race, the remaining riders from around the world are greeted by light rain in the Robertson area, which will come as welcome relief after yesterday's heat. With 122 kilometers and 1,800 meters of climbing, stage 3 is the longest of this year's race. After the hotspot on the climb to Peters Express, the Porcupine Trap, a flat-out section through sandy Fynbos trails. The brutal 3.5 kilometer climb to Pen Hill awaits the riders. On the start line at Arabella Wine Estate, the wearers of the yellow zebra jersey, Manuel Fumik and Henri Cavancini, with their closest rivals, Jaroslav Kulhavy and Howard Grotz alongside them. As the start gun goes for stage 3, the big question is, can Kulhavy and Grotz inflict any damage on the leaders on this transition day from Robertson to Worcester? In the women's category, Denmark's Anneke Langval and Kate Courtney from the US start the stage in the orange leaders' jerseys. And as the field leaves the Arabella Wine Estate, their biggest rivals, Ariane Luthi and Gita Michiels, only have one goal: to claw back as much time as possible. In the men's race, the lead group starts to string out over the first 10 kilometers, and the Investec Songo Specialized team with Kulhavy and Grotz and the Canyon Topik team with Alban Lecata and Christian Heineck are driving hard at the front. Austria's Lecata and Czech star Heineck are first through the Dimension Data hotspot, but on the steep Peters Express climb, Kulhavy and Grotz lead the way with a bunch of chasing teams in hot pursuit. On the fast downhill, Kulhavy and Grotz show their technical skills and power ahead, with the Czech Express Kulhavy really putting the pedal to the metal. Only Canyon Topik's Lecata and Heineck can follow. As the two leading teams forge ahead and pass through Waterpoint 1 at 44 kilometers, the chasing pack with Centurion Vouder, Cannondale, 2 Buff Scott teams and Bulls 2 are 2 minutes and 20 seconds back. On entering the sandy Fynbos trail of the Porcupine Trap, Kulhavy and Grotz still drive the lead train at considerable speed, but they can't shake Lecata and Heineck as they are right with them. The chase group with overall leaders Fumik and Avancini and 7 other teams are more than 4 minutes back. After 12 kilometers of uphill graft, the two leading teams start the brutal 3.5 kilometer climb to Pen Hill. This is the Absa Cape Epic at its best, and as the leaders start the fast ascent, disaster strikes for Kulhavy and Grotz when they suffer a puncture and have to effect running repairs for the 3rd time in 2 days. Canyon Topik lead the race through the Land Rover technical terrain, but Investec Songo Specialized pulled back quickly, led by a phenomenally strong Kulhavy. Shortly after, they catch the leaders and the two teams are together at the front of the field, powering towards Worcester. But then Kulhavy's relentless pace takes its toll on Grotz, and while he is waiting for his partner, Heineck and Lecata push on and quickly manage to build a small lead. After an 8-year break, Lecata wins a stage on the Absa Cape Epic, his first with Heineck. The Canyon Topik pair cross the finish line in Worcester, minute and 11 seconds ahead of Kulhavy and Grotz. Third place, Fumik and Avancini lose the yellow jersey to the new overall leaders, Kulhavy and Grotz. In the women's race, Germany's Sabine Spitz and Robin de Groot from South Africa lead stage 3 for a long time. But just before the 69 kilometer water point, Ariane Lutje and Gitte Michiels and overall leader Annika Langfall and Kate Courtney catch the leaders. Shortly afterwards, Langfall and Courtney make the decisive move and bring home their 4th stage victory ahead of Lutje and Michiels and Spitz and de Groot. Another stage win by Langfall and Courtney, who now lead the GC by more than 12 minutes. So plenty of drama on that day yesterday, and it did affect the overall standings, as you heard there. So a change in leadership in the yellow jersey, Cannondale Factory Racing losing their lead there. Marathon day more yesterday than the cross-country day.
Definitely more a stage suited to the marathon riders, and here we can see the result.
Yeah, I mean, Lecatra and Heineck taking advantage. Again, Kulhavi and Grotz punctures. And if they look back now over the last couple of days, that's been costly in many ways for them.
Definitely a team that we've seen having the most amount of punctures and mechanical issues.
And of course that means that Kulhavi drives the chase hard, Grotz starts to suffer. How good are Trexelis and Marker going this week? 2 teams in the top 10 there, going very well, just 40 seconds apart. Buff Scott also, 2 teams in the top 10, a team that are making their debut here. Krug and Maria, the leaders of the Absa Africa jersey, in what is a tight race there, very close indeed, with Julian Jessup and Tace Bierkus, and Chepo Klo and Lucky Mplangeni lead the Exaro PWC or Exaro category. And no question about this now, this was the stage result here. Langfall and Courtney, 5.5, just over 5.5 minutes ahead of Lutje and Michiels, who won the sprint again at the finish there over Spitz and de Groot. A fascinating little tussle between those teams there. Strauss and last. Mariska Strauss had a really tough day yesterday. She suffered. They did have a puncture, but Annie Lars said they fixed it pretty well. She was quite surprised how quickly they fixed it, and they got back. So this is the GC. This is the men's GC. Fumic and Avancini 2:13. 3 minutes 14 between the top 3. Amazing.
It's amazing that going into stage 4 today, we only have just over 3 minutes separating the top 3 teams.
Great setup for today's racing, and of course going into the weekend, time trial on Friday, and 2 slightly shorter but no less difficult stages to end with into Val de Vie on Sunday. And this is how it stands further down the list. Krug and Rest still the leaders in the jersey. Platt and Uber, well, Carl Platt was looking for a 6th title here. Unfortunately, it's not going to happen. He's 28 minutes off the pace there. The top, their number 2 team, but Steve John and Burma going really well. They're 8 minutes clear of Platt and Uber. Now the women's race has developed interestingly as today has gone on. We'll elaborate on that, but this is how it was at the end of yesterday. 12 minutes and 11 seconds between Lutje and Michiels and Langfall and Courtney. Strauss and last hung on to their 3rd place, but they did lose 8 minutes to Spitz and de Groot, who snapping at their heels on the podium. Malchetti and Gulau are a little bit further back in 5th place. Little McDougall are still the leaders of the Absa women's jersey, which is the first time we've had the Absa women's jersey. So let's now go to the map for today, because today is a really, really tough stage. It's called the Queen Stage, Battle Royal. It is 113 kilometers, but it's the terrain, isn't it?
Very rough terrain, undulating the whole way. They start off going into this trails network, across the Small Bra River. Then they go into, at the 45-kilometer mark, they go through the Toyskloof Winery. Then they hit the big challenge of the day, the Slung Traverse. This is a section where the riders can experience a lot of mechanical issues, and they need to be very careful there, because if you do have a mechanical issue, it's quite a long way, because that stretch is 15 kilometers to get to the next tech zone area, where they can go to Higgeskral to replace any wheel or any part that has been damaged on that traverse section. Then they hit the Thudbuster section. That Thudbuster climb can easily be overlooked in today's profile, but it can be a platform for somebody to attack leading into Bainskloof Pass.
That's just after Water Point 3.
Water Point 3
Yep.
at 67 kilometers.
Okay.
So that leads them into Bainskloof Pass, should a team be in front. So interesting dynamic can develop here. If we've got one team off the front and maybe 2 teams chasing, they will need to work really hard and work well together to try and chase them down on Bainskloof Pass. So we can get a cat and mouse game going on, and then should the team reach the top with a slender lead, they will try and hold on down to the finish, which is all downhill.
You'll notice the Battle Royal 113 k's, 1800 meters of climbing, has 5 chain rings to it. So that tells you that today is the Queen stage, a really tough day. It won't, not as long as yesterday, but it's that terrain, and as Christo said, that's what it's all about. They averaged 28 k's an hour yesterday on that stage.
Amazing average speed yesterday. The riders had a favorable tailwind coming into the finish, and they went way under the expected finishing time yesterday.
Yeah, and the marathon guys really enjoyed it yesterday. Lecata and Heineck looking dangerous, aren't they? They are really in the mix here. Cannondale Factory Racing likewise. Investec Songo Specialized, just 3 minutes between them. So start of the Queen stage. Let's hear the thoughts of some of the contenders and those who wanting to be contending at the start line this morning, starting with a couple from Team Bulls.
For sure it would be nice to be in a stage again in the front, but yeah, we don't know. We just have to look day by day, and we never know what's coming up.
Yeah, today I know some part of the stage, and the middle part is also lots of single track, and I'm looking forward to it. Wellington is my home ground, so it's exciting to be there.
I think positioning into the single track will be super important, and then if it comes to Bainskloof in a group, I don't think anyone's going to be able to get away there, so just hang tough.
Queen stage today. The top 3 teams are really close together. It's all about the yellow jersey at the moment. The last 3 stages were suited more the marathon riders. From now on, the fun comes back into the epic, and also it's getting more technical terrain. We just try to make some time good, gain some time, and yeah, the fight is on, and we are on the hunt.
Yeah, exactly. We're really positive, but today it's a very hard stage. It's a Queen stage, a lot of single trace, and can be pretty hard for us. But yeah, I mean, we are strong, and we will see. Tomorrow is time trial, and it will be a very important stage. So, yeah.
Yeah, it's very tight still for the podium, but we take it day by day. Everything can happen, but I think we are on a good way. We're looking always just right at the moment what we are doing, and we react when the other guys like attack or something. But this will be a tough stage again, and yeah, we try our best to stay in front.
So here we go, the start of the elite men this morning. The thoughts of some of those in contention: Kulhavi, Lecata. Look at all those star riders on the front there. Yellow jerseys, Investec Songo Specialized. The red of Ellsworth ASG, Stuart Marais and his partner Harbi Krier in the Absa African jersey, and they head off on these open trails at the moment in the basin of the Breda River Valley, but it gets a lot tougher a little bit later on. I think this week has been blessed by cooler conditions, which has really been a blessing for a lot of the riders. They may come over the mountain here to the real Boland area here and feel the heat today, as it's going to get a lot hotter.
Yeah, I think as the racing is hotting up, I think so is the temperatures. Yeah. And today, sitting here in Wellington at the moment, it's definitely a lot warmer than it was yesterday.
If you happen to just be tuning in to our coverage of the Absa Cape Epic, we started on Sunday on Table Mountain at the prologue, and then out to Robertson for 3 nights there. A couple of wonderful stages out there, and the transition stage yesterday, stage 3 to Worcester, and today ends in Wellington, tomorrow in Wellington, and then the finish in Val de Via on Sunday, of course, in Paarl. The defending champions, Scott Stram MTB, Nino Schurter and Matthias Sturnemann. Matthias got ill after stage 1, and as their race is over, in fact Nino has left the race, and sadly yesterday the Scott Young Guns, Michiel van der Heyden and his partner André Fischneck, also had to withdraw from the race due to illness and injury. So no Scott Stram team in the sharp end of the race here, but that doesn't detract in any way from the incredible competitive nature of this bunch you're watching in front of you. They're really, really fantastic quality of the field. I don't know if we've had this sort of depth in it, and even though Schurter's not here, it is so close. There's Lecata, the Bulls, there's Tim Burma in there. They're all there, the yellow jerseys, trying to, it's like a road race, aren't they? Trying to get stay at the front.
Yeah, it's a very flat start to the day before they start climbing up to the same dam, the Brandvlei Dam where we were on yesterday. So this first section, not very long but very flat, and the field will stay together until they hit that first challenge of the day.
Yeah.
It's interesting to note Harvey's position in this pack, always on the front, kind of you feel he's always like his sense of authority, almost policing the pack and making sure everyone knows he's there, he's controlling this race.
And isn't that just reflective in the way he rides most of his races? He's a bit like Albin Lecatre as well. They get on the front and they just like to they've got such power, both of them. I don't think anyone's got the power of Harvey. Now there's a little bit of a dart up the road. I think that's one of the Omex teams going up, marked by one of the Bulls riders. And that'll be because they're pretty tight in the further down the field. The Bulls have Steven Steepjohn and Tim Bomer in 7th place at the moment, but you'll just want to make sure that they're not gapped by anyone who's in close attention. So that's the early images from out on the road there as they left Worcester and headed out through that Breda Valley into Slunghoek, and then they'll hook up Bainscliff. Lots of drama to unfold there. Now, what about this women's race? Well, it might seem as though Anneke Langveld and Kate Courtney have it all wrapped up. 12-minute advantage going into today's stage. Let's hear the thoughts of the contenders ahead of today.
Yeah, of course you start to slowly feel it a little bit in your legs. Getting up in the morning is like, comfortable, and the body is a little bit more tired, but overall we're feeling good. And as soon as we get going, yeah, the body also responds in a good way, so that's nice. So let's hope that will happen today as well.
Definitely not expected. I really prepared well for this race, so I was hoping to have strong ride here, but you never know how your body's going to respond to stage racing. Luckily, as Annika said, I have a really good guide, and I think learning to work as a team is really the most important thing here, and just for me and for Annika, like putting ego aside and just going all in for the team, doing whatever it takes to get us both across the finish line. Usually I'm the one who struggles a bit more, but really making it a team effort and doing our best to maximize our strengths.
Yeah, we keep calm, soldier on, and last year also didn't go so well, but I guess this year we had a really bad start in terms of performance. Last year we performed really well, but we got stronger yesterday, and Sabine and our team up really well. We have a good understanding, and hopefully that stands in our favour till the end.
The start was Ariane Luthi, who was standing at the start but didn't get into the start chute. Very sadly indeed. Gitte Michiels, her partner from Belgium for Team Spur, took ill last night. She had a temperature. They were hoping she would recover overnight and she'd be able to get on the start line, but the medical team have advised that she does not start. So very sadly, the second place team, Team Spur, are no longer in this women's race. So it is now Annie Last, who's there sitting on Anneke Langveld's wheel, and Mariska Strauss in second place once more, and Team Ascendus Health move up into third place. So it's a change up. As I said, anything can happen in this race. Gitte Michiels turned herself inside out over the last few days to finish each of those stages.
Yeah, I think we saw pictures of Gitte Michiels both yesterday and the day before, where she looked really tired, really spent after the finish of the day, and you get the sense that she was pushed beyond her comfort zone. She was actually just being worn down day by day, and I think the toll of the 3 long days proving to be too much for her.
Very, very sad indeed. She's got such a lovely energy. It was her first Absa Cape Epic, and she answered a call late, of course, because Ariane Luthi's original partner, Christina Coleman-Forstner, had to withdraw due to illness, and I think Gitte Michiels got hold of the race office ahead of time and said, look, if anyone's looking for a partner, I'm available. And Ariane said, well, let's take her on, and she came out to take her on. Yes, so her preparations, perhaps not dedicated, focused on this event. She's a cross-country racer, so she's learned a great deal about it, and she did post that she would love to come back and take it with better preparation, so it's wonderful to hear. There's Kate Courtney tailing Sam Sanders of Team Dormakaba, riding with Carmen Buchacha, and they had a better day yesterday. Team Ascendus Health, Sabine Spitz and Robin de Groot.
Much better day for Ascendus Health yesterday, and we could see that maybe the slightly lower temperatures suiting Sabine Spitz more than the heat from the previous days.
So the slower teams getting weeded out quite early on in that women's group there. You did see the Absa Africa leaders in that Dormakaba too, Amy McDougall and her partner Candice Lill. They had 2 very tough days as Amy recovered from illness. They took it purposely very, very gently, And I think they certainly this morning, Amy, who's normally pretty chirpy, was back to herself this morning on the start line and keen to get racing. So we'll see how they go today. But that's the vagaries of stage racing, a week-long event. I mean, you go to work, you can get ill. And so you just want to manage yourself as you go through this race. This is now earlier this morning, down towards the Brunfly Dam, which is what they came past from the other angle yesterday.
You can see the Canada boys right to the front here, trying to apply pressure to this pack and hoping to shed some riders that are feeling a little bit weak.
Samuel Poro is the rider just behind Manuel Fumic there in the German champions jersey is Manuel Fumic, and Samuel Poro from Czech Marco is in the frame there. Look who's on the front once more. The Express, the Czech Express, Kulhavy.
I think for some of the teams that are slightly down on the overall standings, I might have thought today might be a chance for them to try and get away off the front to try and get a stage win, because of the big time gap back to them. The leaders of the race might think it's fine, let them go up the road, but because the front end of the field is so tight, they won't let anyone go off the front because they are actually racing to try and get away.
Caught a glimpse there of the Silverback OMX team of Martin Gluth and Raphael Gagne, the Canadian, riding his first Absa Cape Epic, so a big challenge for him, and he's found it tough. This man is racing his first one. He was here last year, Howard Grotz, but he was in a support role to Christoph Sauser and Jaroslav Kulhavy, a very different role to the one he's got now, the responsibility of riding with Jaroslav Kulhavy. And you get the feeling as the week has gone on, it's starting to take a toll on young Howard Grotz. He'll be digging very, very deep today to hang on to Kulhavy.
For sure. I think yesterday we saw towards the end of the stage where, because Investec Songo Specialized suffered two mechanical issues, they had to chase back, and every time they had to chase, Kulhavy would go onto the front and we would actually put Grotz into the hurt box, and really he suffered on those sections trying to get back to the front, or to Topik or to Canyon, and then that actually cost them in the end.
Noticeable here that they are missing from this group. This is still quite early this morning, but at the back, the Martin Gluth for Silverback OMX. And if you'd seen that previous shot, you could just see in the background Kulhavy come around the corner and sort of look over his shoulder and wait a little bit. So I think the Investec Songo Specialized are going to be right on the limit today as their pressure is applied by Cannondale Factory Racing. Remember, 3 minutes and 14 seconds between the first three teams in the overall GC. So there's absolutely nothing to play with here on a big stage like today, because Cannondale Factory Racing 2:12 behind Investec Songo Specialized, and then Canyon Topik 3:14 off the lead. Quite a big gap then, 18 minutes back to Centurion, Vauder, Robach and Gesmeyer.
So a similar situation here again, where Kulov is on the front trying to get Grotz back to the leaders. Grotz struggling a little bit with the sand, and in today's start here there was a bit of sand patches where every time they hit that sand he might not have that high end power that Kulhavy would have, or some of them, or marathon style races like Canyon Topik, where he suffers in the standing conditions. And as Christoph Sauser described yesterday, amazing how you need to ride in the sand, you need to stay relaxed and get the power onto the back wheel, and he might just find himself in a little bit of difficulty every time they hit those sand patches.
You notice not too many stopping there at the first hydration station. It's just a quick water station for them to go through, but it's not going to be one that they'll stop at. These guys, they still have plenty in reserves.
Yeah, the riders here heading into the Torres Kloof mountain bike network of trails, and lovely trails that have been developed in this area over the past few years. All
together now, you see the bulls there. There's Centurion Vauder, Grotz a little bit further back, Samuel Poro there from Trek Celeste Marco as well. Franz Klaas there, the Belgian, also in the mix. But they just hit a little patch of sand there, and you can see riders who are not too familiar with it just losing a meter or two as that sand patch strikes them. It almost sucks you in.
Yeah, it's actually, and if you're struggling with rhythm already and you hit one of those sections, or your line is slightly off, you find yourself getting sucked in and just bogged down and just struggling to accelerate again. And the problem with that is, it's fine if it happens once or twice or three times, but multiple times it starts wearing on your legs. The lactic acid starts building up in your legs, and you're trying to get rid of it on the next section and trying to just spin it out, but because the pace is so hard in the front, you're just yo-yoing off the back the whole time, and it might take its toll on these riders.
Now, isn't this what makes this event just spectacular? Look at these trails, absolutely amazing, and the evolution of trails in this part of the world has so much to do with the Absa Cape Epic over the years. The riders have come through here many years ago. These trails didn't exist then, but farmers and trail gurus have got to embrace mountain biking, and mainly through the exposure to it via the Absa Cape Epic, and are building some amazing trails.
For sure, this area, having ridden in this area quite a bit, it's amazing riding. Trails are not as manicured as you get closer to Cape Town, but the trails are more natural, more pure mountain biking type of terrain. Dual suspension is a must in this area.
Absolutely. It's rocky, it's loose, it's unforgiving, and these riders will know that only too well. Canyon, Toe Peak, Bulls on the front there as well, trying to do something today. Carl Platt looked a little bit forlorn this morning on the start line, still battling to get back to his top form. He broke his pelvis around the Christmas period, and that compromised his preparations. And as much as you say, yeah, I'm fine ahead of the race, it's when you get onto it here that it really counts. Now the banks of the Breeda River looking very, very low indeed, as it does normally at this time of the year, but this drought really is taking a wicked toll.
Yeah, these riders coming up to the Dimension Data hotspot that comes at just before the 46 kilometer mark, and today, interestingly, it is a sprint point, and different to yesterday where we had a hotspot on top of the climb. So maybe some tactics going on here to try and get that 15,000 rand prize.
Well, there, Fumic and Avancini on the front, there, Canyon Toe Peak there, Nicola Robach and his partner, 2 Bulls teams there as well. So they're all hunting down that little hotspot and back onto the single track and the climb now. And there's no question that Cannondale Factory Racing are dead keen to do something today.
You could see they were riding with intent from the start, and they would also take confidence from seeing that Graz struggling a little bit, and I think there's an opportunity here to gain some ground. And I think if you've got a bad day today and you find yourself off the back, not in the front groups, going over the final challenge of the day, the Bainskloof Pass, you might see yourself lose significant amount of time.
Yeah, this is what they know, Cannondale Factory Racing. They've come back the last couple of years. They're learning this event. They wore the yellow jersey last year for 4 days, and they want to have it on the day that counts most. That is on the grand finale day into Val de Vie. By the way, it's at Val de Vie near Paarl, just outside Paarl, just off the N1. So if you're around the Western Cape, come and watch these superstars of the sport, and the real heroes, of course. There are 1,200 riders taking on this challenge, and they'll all be rolling in, let's hope, virtually every single one of them, rolling into the finish at Val de Vie on Sunday. It'll be a great celebration of the human spirit and, of course, of this great sport of mountain biking.
Yeah, it's often we only focus on these riders at the front, but the real stories of the Cape Epic actually happens more towards the back, where yesterday we saw riders actually struggling just to make the maximum stage time, and that's the real battle. These guys out there for 5 hours every day, where other guys are for 10 hours. Here we can see the Dimension Data hotspot coming up.
Yeah, they want the little prize to Nicola Robach and Daniel Gesmeyer, and they charge ahead to try and get a bit of a break, and they are going to snaffle the Dimension Data hotspot. Gesmeyer and Robach, there we go, over the line. Well played, the Centurion Varda men. Little fist pump in celebration. They're not out of contention by any stretch of the imagination, but they sit 10 minutes and 37 seconds down into the water point very quickly.
Yeah, quickly refill here at the Toyskloof Winery, and you got the sense there that the other teams, they didn't really care too much about the hotspot. It was more for the teams that are not going for the overall win today, although Centurion Varda is still in there, but you get the sense Cannondale, they've got bigger fish to fry today. Haven't
they just? Manuel Fumic and Henrique Avancini, they're really, I mean, they look relaxed, and they are very comfortable in media situations. They love the environment around this event, and they embrace everything about it. And I think that you can see on the bike there that they love what they do.
Yeah, I think so. For them, first prize is just enjoying riding their bike, and it's amazing how that reflects in their style of riding. I think they're much more relaxed, the way they deal with issues if they do occur. If they've got a bad day, they recover very quickly. Yesterday lost on time, today immediately back to the front, riding with confidence, and I think that it's an example of how to actually approach the sport.
You cannot go full gas for every single day of this event and expect to get away and win the event. It's not going to happen, and so you've got to manage your efforts through the event. You pick your days, you pick your terrain that you want to have a go that suits you, and we saw it yesterday. Marathon day, Cannondale Factory Racing didn't quite have the day they were wanting, but they didn't panic. They lost a bit of time, 4 minutes. They lost the yellow jerseys. They're back in today and having a go on a day that they feel suits them, certainly until the base of Bainskloof Pass. So they know the power of Kulhavi. They know the power of Licata. What are they going to need at the base of the Bainskloof Pass to get away? 9K road and then into the trails. So
the Bainskloof Pass, the climb starts 35 k's out from the finish. So you would say, depending on the race situation, if they're going Cannondale straight in a straight fight with Investec Songa Specialized, I would say at least 30 seconds to hold them off, even more. But should the second chasing pack be more than one team, they might find themselves needing even more time. That said, if it's the other way around, where two teams are at the front, you get the sense that if two teams working against one team, they should be able to hold them off.
Fascinating little battle unfolding, isn't it, here at the Absa Cape Epic. So we will bring you live coverage just as soon as our cameras are with those leaders and getting nice clear pictures. I think over the last couple of days you've really enjoyed and had some of the most incredible live images from the trail, both on those e-bikes, on the motorbikes, and from the air and the helicopter. So it's been amazing to keep an eye. And it gets a little bit trickier here in amongst the mountains. The signal isn't as reliable all the time, so there will be the occasional breakup, so bear with us with that. But I think you're getting more than you've ever had, I think, at the Absa Cape Epic, so thoroughly enjoyable, isn't it? Now, let's just go back a little bit. You saw the water point there going through. Those top teams fly through the water point. They're not only water points, they're a tech zone as well for riders as they go through there if they've had a mechanical. So let's find out a little bit more about what happens at the tech zone with Jeff Aliff.
Thanks, Gerald. Behind me you see the UCI Pro Tech Zone. Each of the boxes are labeled for the specific teams. Each of the teams have got their tires, their wheels in wheel bags. The important thing with this tech zone is that the pros are not allowed to receive any assistance from any of the mechanics here. They've got to go in, they've got to do their own stuff, they've got to look after their own problems and then move on. But I'd also like to show you the general tech zone, which is sponsored by Scott. And this is available for any of the teams behind us. It's again another very crucial part, a key part of the Absa Cape Epic. The riders can come in here if they've got any major issues, from punctures, from wiring problems, from gearing problems. They go into the tech zone, they will get assisted. If the tech zone guys know them, then they'll just take their names, take their details, off they go, or else they can pay by credit card or whatever. But again, towards the end of the field, we're getting lots and lots of people relying on these tech zones, sometimes fairly minor problems, sometimes fairly major problems. And obviously, the ideal situation will be for the riders to, if they pick up mechanicals in the field, to be able to get their bikes into the tech zone as soon as possible. But the tech zones have got as much of the equipment that you will find in any bicycle shop. They are geared to handle virtually any problem that any of these riders might have. Gerald, back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks so much, Jeff Aliff, bringing us a little insight into what happens out at the tech zones, and the support there is fantastic. You saw one rider there, the mechanics were working on the bike, but he was almost wanting to get involved there. So there are two types of riders: those who just hand the bike over and go back and eat, and those who want to do it themselves to make sure it's going to sort out.
Yeah, I think so. For the back teams, maybe not as important, but remember the clock is ticking, so that he's kind of urging on the mechanic to get going. And we can see there the African conditions taking its toll on the equipment of the riders. And over the years, a lot of brand and manufacturers actually developing equipment specifically for this race and coming out here to test it. And there's a saying that is, if it hasn't been tested in Africa, it's not good enough. So you need to get it here. A lot of teams come here to specifically test equipment before the race, even doing some of the local races to make sure they are properly prepared.
I think we've got past that situation where the European riders who enter the Absa Cape Epic pop over here and then start riding on the first day. They've got tubes in their tires. I think we finally got the message through that you don't arrive here with tubes in your tires.
Definitely. According to our statistics, 99% of the field are using a tubeless system, and it's probably 1% that did not fill in the form.
Yeah, that's something that took a while to get the message across, because in Europe you don't get these sort of conditions. You don't get the thorns, you don't get those. You do get some sharp rocks, but it's not something they've it took a while for the Europeans to get used to. Now, news from out there, I'm afraid it's not great news in terms of our live coverage of the event, because the wind up on Baines Kloof is absolutely hammering, and unfortunately the helicopters are finding it very difficult to fly in there. So we're going to struggle to bring you live coverage of them going up Baines Kloof due to that wind. It's obviously almost a ravine there, so the wind that does charge down there, so it's going to be very, very difficult to bring you those live pictures. But just as soon as we can, we will do so, and bring you an update on what's happening out there. The wind is not only going to affect our coverage, of course, it's going to affect some of the riders.
Yeah, it will definitely affect the riders, and if the wind is coming from the side, you'll get a different type of riding, where you find riders riding in an echelon and trying to, if there's a split in the field, it's very hard to get over the gap. And you do feel for a lighter rider like Grotz, who is weighing in at like 59 kilograms, compared to his partner Kulave is more in the 70s, where he's got a lot more power, a lot more weight, and the lighter riders will definitely struggle, not only with the incline, but also with the wind.
You want to find some protection there somewhere along the line. Of course, the women, some of those women are also going to find it very, very tough going up the climb there. So I think getting in a bunch, trying to find some protection is going to be important.
Yeah, and for the women, because the women are in their own category and they're racing with their own start group, they're not allowed to take any shelter from any of the men. So you will see that if they are on their own, they might be very exposed, and it will be very tough for the women to get over the climb.
Now, yesterday, if you're with us in our live coverage, you would have seen an incident really close to the finish in one of the sandy patches as they were coming around near Brandvlei Dam. The leading team, Investec Songo Specialized, Anneke Langveld and Kate Courtney, were absolutely hammering along, and they hit a sandy patch. There was a little incident. Let's have a look at it first, courtesy of our Energade moment yesterday.
Know where you've been.
Anneke has 2 bottles on her bike, and Kate's got 1 there. Whoopsie! Down they go! Well, that is really, really unfortunate. They hit the sand. There were 2 riders in front of them.
Epic Energade moments. Energade, the official sports drink supplier.
Well, that is what can happen at the Absa Cape. It's an unusual situation because there were 2 riders who were off their bikes in the sand, male riders, and obviously Anneke had a line and tried to change, and in that sand, off you go.
Yeah, I think so. Maybe a lack of attention a little bit on her part, and the front team, they're obviously not a professional team, and they just got caught out. The guy put a foot down, and Anneke, when she looked up, all of a sudden the guys were in front of her. She took the same line and had to, and Brandvlei is actually going down. Luckily, a soft landing.
Yeah, I mean, and not just that, of course, for the riders, but Kate went down right behind Anneke, and anything could happen. She could have gone into the rear end of Anneke's bike and broken a derailleur, got a big puncture, cut the tire, whatever. So just illustrating how narrow the margins are in a race like this. One little mistake or one little lack of concentration, or take your eye off what's happening in front of the road, and something like that can happen.
No, we all know it's an 8-day event. It's not a single-day race, and those small things that happen every single day is what you need to manage in order of the day to get to Val de Vie, to the finish line. And for the back markers of the field, that's the biggest challenge, is to get themselves through the week.
That's what it's about. We're watching the races, of course, and that's the essence of what we bring you here on our live streaming and in our highlights every night. The sharp end, the very best riders in the world tackling this event. There are so many world champions, ex-world champions, Olympic medalists all taking on this challenge. Some of them we won't even see. Jose Hamida is riding Joaquim Rodriguez in the race, and they're very much in the top 20-30 teams, but they're not right at the sharp end there. They were at one stage, so those sort of riders are equally trying to get there as fast as they possibly can. But lovely to have those sort of characters. We had Christian van der Velde and George Hincapie racing in the Masters. They had difficulties early in the week. They're fighting to stay in touch in the Masters as well.
Yes, the Masters category almost becoming a ex-road category at the moment, where we've got Eric Dekker in there, and George Hincapie and Christian van der Velde. So amazing to see these ex-professional riders coming out here to actually have some fun on a mountain bike, but that racing instinct still lives so strong.
Yeah, it does just remind us, yesterday we had a couple of messages via Twitter from former South African top pro Robbie Hunter, stage winner at the Tour de France. He's put his name up, hand up, and said he wants to ride the Absa Cape Epic next year. Daryl Impey, South Africa's road and time trial champion. He's currently racing the Volta Catalunya in Spain, but for Mitchelton Scott, he, whilst racing that, has posted on Twitter that he would like to come and ride the Absa Cape Epic at some stage, probably once his road career is done. So we're seeing more and more of the riders coming across to take on the Absa Cape Epic, which is wonderful. Now, we saw what happens at a tech zone at the water point, and what about the water point, the hydration station itself? Well, let's go back to Jeff Aliff, who's out there.
Thanks, Gerald. Well, the water, hydration and food stations are arguably the most important at the water points. And once again, especially for the riders towards the back end of the field. The pro teams have got their own bottles set aside with their own types of nutrition. But behind me, you can see the water stations, and the staff that are working are all very, very committed volunteers. Just to give you an idea of their day, they get up at about 3:30 in the morning, they shower, they get out here. All the food is cut and prepared on site. They've got from the carbohydrates, the apples, they've got potatoes, right through to the very sweet, the little gummy bears, the jelly beans, the sweet stuff, the cakes, and they've got a mixture of just plain water. They've got a range of energy aids to drink, but as I said, very committed volunteers, and they just love their time here. Some of them have been on 13, 14 Absa Cape Epics. They come back every year. They get a rapport with a lot of the riders at the back end of the field, and it's really entertaining for them. They said they get so much amusement watching the guys arrive here. There's foul language flying. There's all sorts of little incidents that take place that plays itself out at these hydration points. And the riders look like hamsters. They've just stuffed their faces with as much food as they can. It's a really entertaining place to watch. And as I said, these people are here really early in the morning, the volunteers setting things up, and hopefully a one-stop shop for the riders that need the carbs, that have got the sweet tooth, that need water, that need the liquid fruits, the energy aids. It's all here. And that is what happens at the water tables, the hydration and the food tables. Gerald, back to you guys.
Yep, you won't go hungry at the Absa Cape Epic at those water tables. You'll need it though, because it's a grueling event. Now, we can't bring you pictures, but we can bring you news from the route. And the news is, I'm afraid that Investe Songo Specialized have another puncture today.
Yeah, Investe Songo, we've just heard that they've suffered another mechanical issue, and that will definitely be costly for them.
Very costly. Apparently Canyon Topik also had a mechanical. Cannondale Factory Racing are going ahead. They are charging now. That may well play into their hands going into the Bainskloof climb, that road climb, knowing the power and the strength on the road of Jaroslav Kulhavi. He's got to manage his efforts carefully though now. It's getting down to the deep end of this race, and Howard Grotz is starting to feel the effects of riding in the slip of one of the most powerful cyclists. Don't worry about road or mountain bike. This is one of the most powerful men on a bike in any form, and that's Jaroslav Kulhavi. And it's going to be fascinating to see how he deals with that, managing those efforts, so he doesn't hurt Howard Grotz too much. Alban Lukart and Christian Heineck, different. They're very experienced as a pair. Mind you, they only won their first stage together yesterday in 4 efforts here at the Absa Cape Epic. But they are very experienced riders, so they will know each other and their strengths. But I think Lukart is marginally the stronger rider this week of the two there. So again, they're going to have to manage their efforts in chasing down Cannondale Factory Racing going up the pass.
Yeah, so Cannondale Factory Racing has got a lead at the moment. At the water point 4 checkpoint, the time gap was just on 2 minutes to Investe Songo Specialized. So you do feel that we can see another change in the jersey if they can just gain that little bit more, but just over 2 minutes back this morning.
Just interesting. It does not stop evolving. This changing every hour. There's a different dynamic unfolding. In the women's race, it is not quite the same, because Investe Songo Specialized, Annika Langfeld and Kate Courtney are now still they're up front through 67 kilometers, and they are leading the Mariska Strauss Annie Last combination by about 3 minutes. Strauss and Last for Silverback KMC. They're now in second overall, GC. Of course, Ariane Lute, if you haven't heard, has pulled out of the race because her partner Gitte Michiels took ill overnight, so she's not racing any longer. Sabine Spitz and Robin de Groot have ascended herself in third place, but they are with Silverback KMC, so that's where the battle is there for second and third place in the women's race at the moment, because the gap is quite a long way back. Now just have a look at this beauty of the Western Cape. Truly spectacular terrain the riders get to see. Mind you, not too many get to see it from this angle. This is quite beautiful, isn't it? From the helicopters it flies over the Breede River Valley from Worcester. That's Slung Hoek. In fact, if you look ahead there, the mountain in the foreground on the right-hand side, they'll hug the right-hand side of that into the Slung Hoek Valley, which is where the light was. This is the Brandvlei Dam, or what remains of the Brandvlei Dam. Very, very distressing indeed, the drought that's affecting this part of the world at the moment. The rest of South Africa, by all accounts, is receiving a deluge of rain all around the country. I hope you're dealing with that well, and it's not causing any distress for you, because we could do with it down here in the Western Cape right now. Where that light is on the mountain in the far distance, that is the Slung Hoek Valley. Beautiful, isn't it? Absolutely beautiful part of the world. So, look, Christo Tau has turned into Christoph Sauser. Hello, Christoph.
Good morning.
Welcome.
Thank you.
5-time winner. How do you feel? You've been for a ride now. You've been out there on the trails?
Yes, I did part of the time trial tomorrow, the 7 peaks it calls, and down cool runnings. We didn't have time to go up towards the asphalt road and do the last downhill of today, but I've seen the last couple kilometers still of the finish today.
So the updates are sort of coming through, and we've had more news of trouble for Jaro and Howie Grotz. What's going on there, do you think?
I'm not 100% informed, but I hear it's like about 2 minutes to Cannondale. It's doable on the asphalt stretch to catch up. If you're grouped together and similar strengths, you ride in a group over the climb.
There's no similar strengths to Jaro though.
No, but dropping another team, it's quite a lot of drafting. It's never steep, but with Jaro you can catch up, or if you're already ahead, you can increase the lead. We remember well, that was the day 5 years ago when we were about 12-30 minutes behind the Bulls, and we opened a monster gap over the pass over that asphalt. And then they took a wrong turn, and it even opened more.
Yeah, I remember that well. So, Jaro and Howie, they've had yesterday. They've got the yellow jersey. Is Howard okay? Is he managing to match Jaro?
I do think so, because the combo is that Howie can slipstream as long as there's no sand. Howie absolutely does not like sand. With his weight, pushing a big gear through it, maybe a bit. Not enough experience on the Absa Cape Epic as well, how to manage and tackle this.
He's won Leadville, hasn't he?
He did win Leadville, but you always have to see also who was there, competition at the time. So he won it last year, but the competition wasn't that strong, but it's also lots of flat there.
Yeah, he seems to be up for the challenge here of riding with Jaro. We spoke about early in the week about Jaro being the senior partner. He riding with you had the experience and the tactical nous about dealing with mechanicals, not panicking, so on. How is he with the mechanical there? Do you think he's calm enough?
I do think he improved so much over the years. As I mentioned, the first time I was sitting here, he couldn't fix a flat tire. He couldn't hardly bump. It was too stressful and everything. Even he's off the bike very, very calm. Now they're fixing actually the flats very good. We changed the tire sealant for all the teams, all the riders to today, and see if it's any better. Always add a flat tire again. You don't know if it's equipment, if it's bad luck, if it's riding style. Or it's a whole combination of it. It's sometimes so hard to say.
Absolutely. I mean, you cannot blame any single one factor on it. The terrain is rough. It is punishing terrain. So whatever it might be, it's something that Investec Songo Specialized are going to have to cope with as they come into the finish here. Now, Christoph, we're going to take a pause from talking about the sharp end of the race and where it's all happening there, because it's happening at the back as well.
How long, your longest day on a bike? What's your longest day on a bike?
I don't know if you can count it. It's definitely with the enduro bike for sure. With the backpack, and you may end up walking forever. You hit snow. I think it's the longest, maybe from 8 o'clock in the morning until 10 in the evening.
Okay.
And then maybe you end up, that day we ended up in a off-season in a smaller ski resort. Everything was dark, and we thought we have to ride down the valley again because there was no hotel, and luckily we could find a private accommodation.
All right, well, you then have a very small idea of what it's like for the back of the field here, because the back of the field really are putting themselves into positions that perhaps many of them never thought they would, because it's pushing boundaries and getting through this grueling Absa Cape Epic. Let's have a reflection on some of those in the middle and the back of the field here at the Absa Cape Epic. Well, 9 hours 19 is how long the longest riders took out there yesterday, Christoph. That's a long time on a bike, isn't it?
Yes, especially when the heat picks up in the afternoon.
And they probably would have done 7 hours the day before, and they'll do another 8 hours today.
Yeah, it's big respect, and I doubt they come to the finish, and staff is waiting for them. They have to do their own bike. They have to wash their clothes. They have to get their tenters sorted, and then it's already dinner time and go to bed.
That's what it's like for actually a large portion of this field. There are two very different races here, but they're all doing the same thing. They're all pushing boundaries. They're pushing themselves to the limit, be they racing for the sharp end and the overall category, or whether just to finish the Absa Cape Epic. The honor of finishing it, the respect they'll earn in finishing the Absa Cape Epic is enormous, really is enormous. So Cannondale Factory Racing, as we have it now, are leading. We think they're on the pass at the moment, on Bainskloof Pass. Unfortunately, the wind, it's not here at the finish, but up in the mountains there on the Bainskloof Pass, it is absolutely howling, so we're not able to bring you live images of what's happening there. We talked about Investec Songo Specialized having a mechanical, and they were hovering around at the fourth water point about 2 minutes down. In fact, Alban Lecatre and Christian Heineck are even further back, nearly another 40 seconds behind Investec Songo Specialized, because they also had a mechanical and a puncture. So the terrain taking its toll there. Cannondale Factory Racing have escaped issues on that race, on that section, and are trying to fly away from the chasers. Robach and Gesma, they'll be powerful on the road as well, won't they?
Yeah, they're very equally strong. They can do their turns, big boys. And maybe the people who see the profile of the pass, it looks very big, but actually it's not steep. It's nice asphalt. And even with the road race going flat out at the end of a stage, there's not much you can actually do.
Andrew Geddes-Baines built that beautiful pass. Baines Kloof, it's one of his great masterpieces. Now, this is how it was at the start of today. Koolhavi and Grotz taking the yellow jersey from Fumich and Avancini, 2 minutes and 13, 3:14 to Lecatra and Heineck, 10:38 to Robach and Gesmeyer. And then what a week the Buff Scott pair of Carretero and Pinto are having. They're in the top 5. Klaas and Bauer also going very well for Kulumanzi Project. And Steve John and Burma, the superior of the 2 Bulls teams, or 3 Bulls teams at the moment. And not far behind them, Ravenstein and Casagrande, the first of the 2 Trek Celis and Marco, also having a great week here at the Absa Cape Epic. Buff Scott's second team there, Verag, Vegara and Moreno, 28 minutes down. And look how close it is to Platt and Huber there, who are trying to get themselves back into contention in 11th place at the moment. The Ellsworth ASG team of Harbia, HB Krier and Stuart Maria lead the Absa African jersey. 12 minutes. So this has changed, of course, because Ariane Luthi and Gita Michiels out of the race. So Strauss and Last are now in second place. They started the day 24 minutes down. Spitz and De Groot in third. Machete and Golau now move up to fourth place. Lil and McDougall are our leaders in the inaugural Absa African jersey category for women. They're an hour and 18 down at the moment. Just a thought on Ariane losing Gita Michiels this morning. She was very emotional on the start line, as one would expect. She's not riding today. You'll know what I'm sure it can be like, losing your partner.
Yes, it's a stage race, and nobody goes home after or come back to a one-day race. Everybody goes home after a one-day race, and it's over. You can focus on the next one. And obviously Ariane prepared for so long for this race. It's pretty much a pinnacle of her season, and the race keeps on going. So maybe it's better not following the race anymore, and it's just what you can't change. You just try to get over it as soon as possible.
We might have, in fact, Ariane did say she might want to come in and have a word with us here at our live streaming as we get the women coming in towards the finish. So let's hope we do. But yeah, she was deeply emotional this morning. She arrived at the start in her kit, half hoping that Gita would wake up this morning and feel a little bit better than she was last night. She had a temperature last night, a fever, and unfortunately this morning it hadn't really abated. So medical advice, and I think very definitely the right advice, was not to go. She was pushed really hard over the last couple of days, Gita. She's a cross-country racer. Every day she was going further than she's really ever gone on a mountain bike. Coming back to that, preparation for this event, she was in good condition, but not in that type of condition where you can race this at the front end like that.
She impressed. She impressed coming here last minute. It would have been different if she would have come here to Stellenbosch already before. If she would have done the epic, she would have had a good heat adaptation. But also as a cross-country rider, what I hear, she didn't do much long rides at all. More the punchy. And you just can't race, even if you have a little bit of temperature, and it's also dangerous for your health. It's okay if you have saddle sores, or if you have a little bit of a sore knee or a bit of a flu.
You can manage that.
You can manage that. But fever, it's like or back pain. It's something you cannot kind of over push, and you
just got to do more damage.
You can't toughen up on that. It doesn't work.
So let's just talk about cross-country and marathon races, and the cross-country guys do as much as the marathon guys in terms of training and preparation for an event like this, or not for an event like this. I mean, even if you're just preparing for the cross-country season, are you doing the big numbers and the big distances that, say, the Lacartas and Heineks and Platts are doing?
Well, you also have to look what is your weakness. Yeah. So for me, the weakness was always the punch. Endurance more or less came with. So when I started riding the Cape Epic, it wasn't such a big goal in my calendar because the World Cup was much bigger, and so many people asking me here in South Africa, you're preparing for the Cape Epic, but I was actually preparing for the World Cup season, and the Epic was a great build-up.
Fitted in nicely, yeah.
But once I was at the start of the race, I mean, I gave 110% for sure, and I was also nervous on the prologue or on the first day very much. And then how the Absa Cape Epic evolved, it really became a major, if not the major event for me. And then also like the whole 3 months leading to it, this race was in my head, and I definitely did also some longer rides. I felt like, but most riders also feel that towards the last 3 days, it really becomes down to muscle power. And I could see some guys still have a bit some more acceleration where I became very much a diesel.
It'd be interesting to know how, if you look back now, how the Absa Cape Epic influenced your cross-country form each year in those early years, how that influenced. By the way, just to let you know, they're on the descent down Baines Club Pass, so very soon, there we go. Is this live footage, I think? This is live footage. We do have confirmation. Beg your pardon, Christoph, interrupting you there, but this is live footage with the women's race, and we are on the wheel of Robin de Groot of Team Sendus Health, and on the bike with Stefan Sam, who's riding with the women today. And these are fantastic trails that we were talking about a little bit earlier before you came in here, Christoph, how the race has evolved from that perspective. You've ridden through this valley before, but not on trails like this.
Yes, but if you're on the limit and tired, sometimes you just want to have a smooth tar or gravel road drafting in a bunch, and you see it's this one here is quite rough. Going down cool runnings today, it also seems quite rough, not so rocky, but quite washed out. You have to keep up with the concentration, and if the speed is furious, there's lots of dust. You have to stay on the wheel, quite close on the wheel. You never know what's coming. And then a nice trail becomes painful.
Yeah. Well, it's the legacy of the drought, I think, a lot of the washed out trails as well, the lack of water in these parts. It is not the rainy season, it must be added, but it hasn't rained significantly here for nearly 3 years. So this is a culmination of the effects of the 3 years of what is, without doubt, the most drought this part of the world has experienced in living memory. Anyway, we're sitting behind Robin de Groot, and Sabine Spitz is just ahead of her, probably. Here we go. We're on the road now of Baines Kloof.
Everybody is together as far as I can see. Cannondale is there in Wessex Songo Specialized Bulls. The Spanish Scott Buff. And Canyon.
Are they there? Who's on the front there? That may be them.
No, I think on the front is Bulls.
Bulls on the front?
I don't think Canyon is in here. I think
a little glimpse there. We'll keep analysing that as we can. Images from the early portion of the descent off the top of Baines Kloof. As we back with Robin de Groot, as I said, Sendus Health now in third place. There's Canyon.
They're still on the climb, or between the two peaks on top, so they must be behind that leading group.
So Alban Lecarte, Christian Heineck, we know they had a mechanical earlier today, and now it's all about trying to limit that damage as they pull themselves up this beautiful Baines Kloof pass. They won't be looking at the beauty of it, they'll be focusing on the job they have to do, is to close the gap to that group up ahead. And there'll be riders and teams in that group who will be doing all they can to pull away from them.
Amazing performance from Jaroslav again. I bet he was leading all the way. It's quite long until the climb starts on asphalt, and then they must have caught them somewhere on the climb towards the end.
Yeah, there's a long, fairly flat section that leads you into the base of Baines Kloof on that tar road. And you can just imagine Jaroslav Kulhavi at full throttled on that flat section. Look at these trails. The Breda River to your right, and if you were to look over Stefan Sam's right hand, that would be Tilbach, previous area we visited on the Absa Cape Epic series, further over to the right there. But those previous years, different trails and different experiences for all these riders. So we're not entirely sure who is in this group with
that's quite far.
Sendus Health. course, Investec Songo Specialized have a very comfortable lead on their GC, and they were leading by nearly 4 minutes coming through the earlier water point 2, water point 3 were Annika Langveld and Kate Courtney. So they've got this stage again in hand. That looks like Annie Last maybe just ahead there. So it could be this second group of Mariska Strauss. Indeed, it is Mariska Strauss and Annie Last, and just ahead of them is Sabine Spitz, the former world champion and current German champion. So three national champions.
It gives a nice impression of the single chairs and terrain, and you see how many rocks they ride over. I mean, they ride over 1 million rocks. So sometimes you wonder why they're not having 10 flats a day. It's and those sidewalls, even on the heavy tires, they are thin. They're very thin, and if you see that the sharpness of the rock and how fast you go over it, it's actually impressive.
I'm constantly amazed by what we put our bicycles through every time we go out there, and then the bicycle 9 times out of 10 stands up the next day and says, "Come, where are we going today? Put me through more of that." It's amazing. It's beautiful. We're very fortunate, and it's the evolution of the bike as well. As the bikes get stronger, tougher, so the trails get a bit tougher. Look at this beautiful stuff. Nice and rough and rocky. Great trails. But it's energy sapping stuff, as you were saying just now. It's not fast riding for the. Let's just talk about for the majority of the field. It can be quite a long slog for a lot of riders. So it does eat into the hours as they switch up.
You do see they pedal basically the entire time.
Yep.
There's no resting. You have to concentrate. Those switchbacks are very important, that you make yourself a small package, sit in front of the saddle, and put the nose close to the handlebar, like really into a docking position, that the front doesn't lift, and you tackle those tight switchbacks in a package way.
Just going to crest over the top of that climb as they head out towards Slunghoek. The Slunghoek Traverse is what it's about there, and these are trails, as we were talking about a little bit earlier, that are new to the Absa Cape Epic. They have been ridden in various other events fairly recently, but it's a great opportunity for Absa Cape Epic riders to get to grips with the single trail, and today's stage is very much a contrast. We've had those sort of trails, and in a little while they'll be on that asphalt road going up the pass there. Cannondale Factory Racing. You know what this descent is off the mountain here. Where do you want to be? You want to be right on the front there.
There's not much going to happen in this descent. At the end, when you cross the asphalt again of Bainskloof, it's quite fast. A few corners, you hit into headwind 2 times to the finish. Maybe a good point to attack on. It's a big open road, so like for a Howie, it would be good advice. Why not trying on one side and surprise them? And coming into the finish, it's left and the right, and the grass it sucks your tires. It's like auto steering, and it's a tough sprint.
Yeah, so it's going to be very, very tough for all these riders as they come in here, particularly that sharp end of the race as they make their way into. It's unfortunate that what you're seeing now is a long way from where we are here. It's the other side of the mountain. So the fact that we're seeing those images for any length of time is amazing. Unfortunately, as I said, Bainskloof can't get up there too much because of the wind on the northern side of Bainskloof as they come up there. Listen to what's happening here at the finish here at Hugenhoute High School. The music, the bands are starting up here. It's a great vibe at Wellington. These schools are in session, if you so to speak. Class is running at the moment. They're not on holiday, but they've allowed the Absa Cape Epic to camp out on the field here for a couple of nights. And I'll tell you what, they're as excited as the riders are as they head to the finish here at Wellington, which is we've been here 3 times before. This is the 4th visit to Wellington, a slightly different venue each time, so it's fantastic here. The run tomorrow, and you've spoken about that time trial, 39k time trial. It looks a really, really tough route.
Yes, that climb up to 7 peaks is long and also rough. You can't be too much out of the saddle. It really shows climbing strength. The downhill is quite fast. It actually feels you climb forever, and you kill those altitude meters right away into the downhill.
Okay, so it's going to be a tough time trial. 39 Ks, about 1,400 meters of climbing. Now, I know there are a lot of riders who think tomorrow is going to be a rest day. It's certainly not going to be a rest day tomorrow. It's a lot of hard work for these teams. A nice early start for the elite pros at 6:45 tomorrow morning. So they will have a shorter day. On a day like that, they should be finished 9 there and thereabouts, done and dusted. What's the plan then once you've had that shorter day?
Yeah, the pros have to go full gas. The fun riders just try and
Survive.
enjoy it.
Yeah.
Just try and enjoy it. Even it's hard. I mean, you can stop a bit and enjoy. You know, it's not too long. The time cut, I think, will be easy, manageable. It's stunning, the view also from the top of the climb, seeing lots over the Western Cape. This morning was beautiful. I can imagine in the evening even better with the sun going down in front of you.
So the band giving us a little bit of entertainment here. Lovely to have the people of Wellington coming out to welcome the Absa Cape Epic to Regenhoed School here. Beautiful day, and we've had some fairly relatively cooler days for the race. Today is going to be a bit hot, and the longer you're out there, and there will be those who are going to be out there 8-9 hours, it's going to be a really brutal day for them.
For them will be very nice that they have a rest-ish day tomorrow. They can have more time to eat proper food and to hydrate again properly after today's stage. I feel this is going to be one of the hottest day at the Absa Cape Epic.
And as Christoph has just alluded to, hydration and eating is going to be critical today for all these riders on the route. It cannot be emphasized enough how important hydration is to get you through the day and to get you through the next day. A lot of the riders, a lot of them are sleeping in the tents here, even in the campers. Some sleep really well, others don't, and that could be to do with just because they're hyped up and in the race.
Yeah.
Did you sleep well in the camper?
I always slept super well in the camper. It has aircon even in the afternoon. But if you are a fast rider who has a tent, you arrive here, you can't go into the tent because it's too hot. So the advantage for the guys basically arrive later. They don't have to have that luxury problem. Oh, where do I have my nap? It's too hot in the tent. Will I find a quiet spot? So they just come in their routine and go very quickly to dinner.
Right now, that's live pictures, and that is the leader. That's the lead group. That's Robach and Gesmeyer of Centurion Vader. Look over the shoulder there. They're working really, really hard, which will tell you this is a little bit of an incline, and they have escaped the group.
It looks like they're looking back. They can't be too far ahead since they look quite nervous, looking over their shoulder. But it's very, very short here to the finish.
So they're closing in on the finish. Well, the Centurion Vader, Nicola Robach and Daniel Gesmeyer won the prologue. They were fourth at the start of the day today. And
you see the difference between the who is who. Rohrbach has the golden fork, and Austrian's Geisi has the black fork.
And he's on the front there, Gesmeyer, and the green and yellow socks and shoes. Rohrbach on the left-hand side. I know these trails. Certainly, Rohrbach, he's been here quite a lot. He spends quite a lot of time here. So
there's no more trails from here on.
District road now.
Just pure district road. There was just by a house. It quickly narrows up. If you're chasing group and work together, you can make a bit up. But I've just a rough guess. If they have here 15 to 20 seconds and they don't suffer any cramps or take a bad corner, they'll win.
Here we go. Kate Courtney on the back here. Anneke Langveld in front of her on Bainskloof Pass. That looks like that lower section of Bainskloof. Just a quick look at them as we flick now back to our leading team here. Rohrbach and Gesmeyer putting their ears back and looking for a win here. Now Rohrbach and Gesmeyer started today 10 minutes down on the overall leaders. That was Investec Songo Specialized. So Well, if they can eat into that, they can get back on the podium. Here's the chase group.
Yarrow in the front, putting the hammer down. It looks like Cannondale is not in there. I wonder if they're in the front or in the back.
So it's at least Investec Songo Specialized, Buffscott, and the Bulls are right in there, and that's Carl Platt and Urs Huber at the sharp end. Almost for the first time we've seen them in the mix here, where it matters most.
You see they're so close, wheel on wheel and also next to it. It's good that the bikes now have through axle, which is attached in the frame. Especially the Trek, they had special quick release which stuck out so far, and you had to worry the whole time that you don't ride your front wheel into that quick release.
Well, this is Robach and Gesma as they dig in and try and drag themselves up over this hill. So where are Cannondale Factory Racing? They put in a huge effort in the technical terrain earlier on the ride. Have they paid the price for that? Manuel Fumik and Enrique Avancini and our Investec Songo Specialized now making the pay up the road and then down on these farm roads. It'll be fascinating to hear what their thoughts are at the end of it. Look at the farm workers. They're harvesting now. They're hard at work, but welcoming the riders as they come through their lands here. Wonderful to see.
I would love to see the helicopters swinging back with the camera, or the cameraman in the helicopter, to see how far they are. They must be very close.
Yeah, because you just caught a glimpse of the helicopter up there, so that tells you, and they're the farm labourers that the leaders went past just now. Less than a minute?
It must be around 20-25 seconds.
Fantastic. So Robach and Giesmeyer.
I'm just realizing they haven't passed the asphalt road of the pass yet, so it's still a little while to go.
Giesmeyer is so strong here. Robach, he's the man looking over his shoulder.
It looks like Carl is suffering on the back of the other bunch. For him it's just managing pain and manage to ride super clever that he get as much possible draft for them to hopefully to be on the podium.
Well, these two have escaped that group, Gesma and Robach. And I fancy that may have been our chase group. So this is the back end, and there you were referring to Bulls starting to suffer a bit there. They've got 5 kilometers to go till they cross over that. When they get to the tar road, they've got 5 kilometers to the finish from that. So thanks to our informer Christo here.
I can feel for Geismeier and for Orbach. I mean, Geismeier, he wants that win so bad. Well, both want it, and he wants to go as hard as possible. He always has to hold back a few percent to wait for Rohrbach, and Rohrbach doesn't want to disappoint the team himself, and that's the cool dynamic of partner racing.
Yes, not often that these riders get to ride with their partners through the year. Quite often, yes, obviously they do, the various big stage races, but so often the cross-country races, you're racing individually. Here's the tar road, the road that comes down at Bainskloof. So they're on to that, and from here 5 kilometers to the finish, not on the tar, as they hook a left and hit, the soft sand. It just
5 seconds, and that can be, the chasing group sees them a little bit closer, a bit more motivation. They can't make any mistake. There's 2 uphill rollers to go, and whatever they do, looking now to, if they look down to the right, it's all quite headwind.
Well, it's very, very tough. These vineyard roads and vineyard climbs can be brutally punishing. Here's the chase group, now down to 2 teams. They've lost the Bulls, Kulhavi and Grotz and Buff Scott. So Platt and Huber have dropped off. Kulhavi assesses the damage. These Pinto and Carretero from Buff Scott have been quite phenomenal all week. Clearly done their preparations spot on for the Absa Cape Epic. And they are now, look at Yarrow out of the saddle there, powering on the front. Howie Grotz holding his wheel.
Howie's looking very good. He always is in the right distance of Yarrow, so he's looking much more comfortable today.
They're the Bulls, so it looks like their efforts, unless they find some motivation magic. That's Carl on the back, Urs on the front, and Carl Platt's battery's gone a little flat, I think, now. He put in the effort, but they just couldn't sustain it. He talked about home territory. They spend a lot of time in this part of the world, the Bulls, when they come and prepare for their year. It has just gone flat for Carl Platt. So let's see if we can get from the helicopter. We can hear the helicopter up ahead there. Neil Gardner is up in the helicopter. Neil, what can you tell us from your position? Unfortunately, Neil, not able to communicate with us, but you can just see there from Carl Platt, he just freewheeled there as much as he possibly can. This is a nasty time for any rider when you just the wall, you've ridden into the wall a bit, and he cannot go anymore.
It's so close to the finish, and you worked for so long, so hard, and then you just see that podium. Especially also the excitement for the podium sprint. I think that's the coolest. If you're off the overall, you just want some excitement at the end. If
Absolutely.
It's a second or third place, it doesn't really matter, but or maybe even a fourth, but you just had excitement to be in there and race
in the mix, yeah,
for the podium.
Kulhavi and Grotz on the front here, the yellow jerseys, their closest rivals at the start of the day. Cannondale Factory Racing not in the picture at the moment. 2 minutes and 12 seconds they were behind, and it is Buff Scott behind them, Carretero and Pinto, who try to have hitched on to the Czech Express here, and they've got a ticket, but I tell you what, they better not take their eye off the road, because the train driver is in control. There's no question about that.
I've seen the Wouter boys. There must be a good 15 seconds ahead.
Well, they won't be. You want a stage win, don't you, investing from a Specialized? You're not going to put everything in there? Christopher, let's go pop up
we are in stage 4. We've seen one of the most exciting days of racing so far. It's been incredibly dynamic with the chase groups and the lead groups swelling and shrinking. Early before the Land Rover technical terrain section, we saw Cannondale in the lead. They had almost 45 seconds a minute. And in the chase group, we had Songo, who punctured, trying to catch up on one of the downhills. When they got back, the chase group really just grew and swelled and became a law of attrition with the equipment, and of course the sheer effort of trying to catch up with the Cannondale guys. We had to skip out because the wind was too high over Bainskloof Pass. We went around, so we aren't really that sure what happened on Bainskloof, but now we see Centurion are in the lead. They have about a 30-second lead on Songo and Team Scott Buff. That's Investec Songo Specialized and Team Scott Buff are together with Team Centurion Bard in the lead. We just saw the Bulls drop off that pace, and we're likely to see a run into the line second to none. We've just seen Centurion, one of the Centurion riders, it looks like Nicola Rohrbach, has just dropped off the pace off Daniel Gesmeyer, and with the power of Jaroslav Kulvi, looks like they might just catch the Centurion boys.
Neil Gardner up in the helicopter. Yes, real drama here, because as Neil said then, you might have just noticed a little bit earlier, Rohrbach just yo-yoed off the back of Gesmeyer, and he's in sight there. This group will be chasing hard here, Christoph. Christoph's got a clock on it, so we'll be able to see the gap here. And Sauser, at least Sauser sitting alongside me, Sauser and Kulhavi. Grotz and Kulhavi are hammering it. Now there is Canyon Toe Peak.
So it's exactly 14 seconds, the time split. It's gonna be very, very difficult to close that. Will be interesting.
That's between Centurion Wouter and the chase group Investec Songo Specialized Buff Scott. And this is Christian Heineck and Alban Lecata, who were in the mix, but they also had mechanicals like Investec Songo Specialized, but they've dropped off the pace now and are just trying to limit their losses. 3 minutes and 14 seconds was the deficit. They were in third place at the start of the day to the leaders. Investec Songo Specialized absolutely burying himself is Christian Heineck with Lecata on his wheel here.
It's hard. Yesterday they got a nice spark. Hey, we can win this. I mean, they can still win it. And then yeah, it was a bit a hammer today to lose time.
Gismaier and Robach, we're inside Wellington now. They're not far from us here at the finish at Huguenot High School, and they're making every pedal stroke count. Gismaier on the front there, and Robach, who has been suffering, it appears. He lost the wheel of Gismaier a little bit earlier.
Yeah, that's the win now.
Yep.
It's so close to the winning. It's just a right-hander into the venue, and then you're down the grass field, and that's it.
So it is an excellent ride. We'll have to find out exactly where they gapped them. Bainskloof somewhere along the line, either near the top or on the descent, early on the descent, and they've managed to make that work for them. Gismaier and Robach will turn the right now into the school and hit that grass, which just drags the tyres down. Here's the chase group: Kulhavi, Grotz, and Pinto and Carretero. The 10th to their right, so that's how close it is. But it's not going to be close enough. Victory on stage 4, the Queen stage, to Centurion Vadas, Nicola Robach and Daniel Gismaier. They are right in the mix here at the Absa Cape Epic. They'll be eating into second and third place, but the yellow jerseys of Jaroslav Kulhavi and Howard Grotz will take second place and consolidate their position in yellow. Their closest rivals are some way back, and Buff Scott back on the podium once more. Pinto and Carretero, the Spanish-Portuguese alliance, have done it again. They were on the podium in third place on the prologue day, and my word, they've done another great job today. So an excellent win by Centurion Vada, and the clock is ticking back to the Cannondale Factory Racing boys. We haven't seen them at all in the last ride. We saw Canyon Topek, who were in second place, but no sign of Fumic and Avancini.
You might wonder why they didn't sprint for second and third. It's clearly because Yaro did all the work in the front, and then the Scott Buff, they didn't feel like just chasing them down at the end.
Nice to see fourth place for Carl Platanus, who were their best result this year, riding into their hometown of Wellington. They call it their hometown because they're based here. This is Robach and Gismaier. Gismaier on the left, Robach on the right. Let's hear from them.
Nicola, Daniel, what a day, what a stage win. There weren't a lot of pictures for the spectators to see. You guys were 1 minute down after 79 kilometres. Tell us about Baines Pass. What went down there and got you so far in front?
Yeah, the Cannondale boys, they pushed really hard in the single trail, and yeah, we was behind in the group with the overall leaders, and then yeah, in a really rocky single trail, Yara had some problems. Then we took the lead from this group, and then there was a really rocky single trail, and then we gone away from the other guys, and then we reached Bainskloof Pass, the asphalt road, and then yeah, we pushed really hard, and in the end, I mean, where's the real climb starts, we closed the gap to the Cannondale guys, and then we attacked on the uphill, and yeah, super happy to took the win today.
So you guys were obviously incredibly strong on the uphills, but big risks and great skills on the way down.
Yeah, I think today we were the strongest in the uphill. We had a good speed, but yeah, at Bainskloof Pass, the pain was really hard. But we pushed, and after yesterday, we really want to win this stage today. So really happy about this.
Well, congratulations on the stage win. Enjoy the celebrations.
Thank you, thank you.
Bainskloof Pass was where it all seemed to unfold after that. Almost a stage of two parts today, with the technical sections early on and then Bainskloof, where Cannondale Factory Racing made their moves on the technical section but just couldn't sustain it up the road section. We saw them coming in there in fifth place. We are led to believe that Specialized, Investisongo Specialized, finishing 1 minute and 50 ahead of Cannondale Factory Racing, which puts their lead at around nearly 4 minutes between the yellow jerseys in Cannondale Factory Racing. Topik, Canyon Topik, we haven't seen come across the line just yet, but real drama here on this day, Christoph. As ever, Wellington always does.
Yes, again, normally Wellington, I mean, they didn't really ride in Wellington, just a short patch after the pass. Tomorrow and the day after, Wellington has quite nice trails and not too rocky. So let's, fingers crossed, it's going to be natural riding, not the mechanical.
Let's hear from them.
Howard, Yarrow looked at the finish like a pretty straightforward defence of the jersey, but how really was it out there in these conditions?
I only had one speed out there, and Yarrow again was really helpful, just riding at the pace I could sustain, but pulling pretty much the whole time. And then we lost a bit of time with the flat, but on Bainskloof, Yarrow again closed that 2-minute gap down, and then it looks like the Cannondale boys got into a little bit of trouble at the end, maybe a mechanical. So it was kind of just a good day to maintain.
Yarrow, at the 79 kilometre point, the Cannondale guys are a minute in front, and were you starting to get a little bit stressed about them being away, or you felt in control?
Yeah, it was a little bit stressing, but then there was a really long asphalt climb, and we did everything for it, and Cannondale was a little bit tired, and we catch them maybe 2 Ks before the top, and then it was perfect for us.
Well, second on the stage, but more importantly, extended the lead in the general classification. With the time trial tomorrow, the confidence must be starting to get higher and higher every day now.
I mean, the shorter distances hopefully suit me a little better. These long grinds are pretty tough, but it'll be nice to have just a short day and then a lot of recovery time after that.
Okay, all the best, guys. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Looks exhausted, as they should do. Jaroslav Kulhavi and Howard Grotz there. 39k day tomorrow, that'll suit them nicely, won't it, Christoph?
Yes, you have to do a good warm-up. Not too long, but a very nice specific warm-up for that. It's quite early in the morning, and after a hard day like today, meaning even more harder days before, it's hard to get your legs going if you're not 100% into it, and you have the fire and the eager and all what it takes to win a time trial like tomorrow.
Well, we just watched them come through. Here's Buff Scott, Carretero and Pinto. Let's hear from these 2 young men.
Franz, Louis, a podium position on this stage. It looked like a really tough day out there for everybody. Must be really satisfied with a 3rd position on the stage.
Yeah, it's a dream come true. When at the kilometer 10, at 10 kilometers, I was in 50 position, and I never think that I finish in the podium. For me, it's a victory. And thank you, Luis. We had a great team job, and I'm very proud of him. He's the best teammate I have never had, and really happy.
Well, after 5 days of racing, things are really getting tough now, and you're moving forwards in the bunch. Must be good for the confidence going into tomorrow's time trial.
Yeah, and also it's my first participation in Absa Cape Epic. It's difficult for me in the bunch, looking for my side. I am very little, and everybody handlebar put in my body, and when I realize I'm in 100 positions.
Well, you did a great job to come back, so congratulations. Enjoy the podium.
Thank you, thank you.
That's Carretero and Pinto from Buff Scott. Now, just to bring you up to date with the general classification, Gulhavi and Grotz, Investec Songo Specialized, 4 minutes and 9 seconds over Cannondale Factory Racing over Nsini and Fumi, who are just another minute and 12 seconds ahead of Lecatra and Heineck in third, 5:22 down. Robach and Gesma 10:20 down, but we'll get to that just now. Buff Scott 14:38 down, and Platanuba 29 minutes down, but that'll change. So just analyzing today and the rest of the week, pacing yourself through the week, and who gets stronger and who might get weaker. Christoph Sauser through the week. Robach and Gesma winning the stages they've done here suggests that they are getting stronger.
That was not coincidence that they rode strong today, or lucky. become through every Cape Epic stronger and stronger towards the end of the week, where Canyon stagnates, more goes downwards. So far in West Exongo, Specialized been always lots of firepower. It will suit them the last 2 days very much, or the next 2 days, lots of climbing. Obviously Howie is the weaker guy, so you have to have the course for the weaker guy, and Howie is a climber. The last day is a lot up and down as well. So on the paper, in West Exongo Specialized can do this. From second to fourth, everything can change, but also first place. You're not safe until on the last day over the finish line.
Yep, absolutely. But as Christoph so succinctly put it, 6 minutes is two punctures, and 10 minutes is 3 punctures. So you do not want to have any mechanicals in a scenario like this, because Robach and Gesma 10 minutes from Kulhavi and got 3 stages to go. This is a bunch coming in towards the finish line with Victor Koretsky and Jordan Saru, and the Silverback Omex Pro guys are there. The second of the Canyon Toe Peak teams there, and the third of the Frey and Schneider, the third of the Bulls teams in this group as well. Jeremiah Bishop and I think Eric Kleinans may be in this one from Canyon Toe Peak, heading towards the finish. Saru and Koretsky, new to the event, cross-country stars from France. Good experience for them. Do you think they'll bring more of the French out here?
I really like to see them here in the race. Even they pay its toll. I expected them to be better at the prologue, and even during the race. It's the first time, and they first have to absorb things and think things in. It's not so easy just to come without any experience. You've never seen this. You've never seen a race village. You don't know how that start protocol really works and the race dynamic. It's lots of factors that plays together, and when you have no idea, you already, I believe, lose a bit of energy thinking around it. And also the staff, they have basically no clue unless they really get information from other pro teams what to bring, and it even starts with have a good sleeping bag to all your tools and all your spares, and also show that confidence to the riders. Hey, we have it. If the mechanics are just halfway in, and the riders feel they struggle to find their stuff and to be organized, it reflects in the whole team.
It's a whole team effort that absolutely every single thing manages to get his bottle out. Koretsky. Yeah, it's and again it just illustrates just how deep the competition is here. There's no question this is the most competitive of these big multi-day stage races around. These two are inside the top 5, 6 of the cross-country races in the world, Jordan Saru and Victor Koretsky. And you can't just, as Christoph says, pitch up here and think you're going to win stages, let alone win the overall. Cheers from the kids. They're wonderful to see. Fantastic welcome there.
Well, it's no problem if you're a newbie and you sit into an experienced team, especially with an experienced partner like Steniman last year, or Jaroslav as well. With me,
Howie, or
that's
with
all
you,
fine, but the team has to be experienced around you.
Yeah, that's the key. And then what you've got with Saru and Koretsky is 2 new guys, which makes Buff Scott's performance that much more impressive. They've really, really done well in their first Absa Cape Epic. Popped up here and into the podium 2 days, and nicely positioned inside the top 5 on GC.
Absolutely. I believe their staff is very much stage race experience, so there they have a bit of advantage, or not such a big disadvantage.
Silverback Omex going to the front there, trying to put a little attack in there. Saru and Koretsky had a word a little bit early. You might have seen them having a word. Bulls are not, at least Canyon Toe Peak are not interested. But here we go. And it's the second rider across the line that counts. And it is Silverback Omex who will take it. Jordan Saru and Victor Koretsky. And then the second of the Bulls teams. And there come Kleinans and Jeremiah Bishop. They're riding in support of Alvin Carter and Christian Heineck.
Those two, the Canyon backup, they're gonna go super easy tomorrow. just save as much as energy they can to support the A team for the 2 last days.
So the heavy hitters are coming into the finish here, Jordan Saru and Victor Koretsky. Great to have them here in racing, and every day is a learning curve for them. Thanks very much to Thomas Dietsch, who is following these riders in. Nice to see, bringing a new element, new dynamic, fresh, exciting dynamic to mountain bike racing, the onboard cameras. And it's not just on the bike, because Thomas is going to wander around here. You may get to see all sorts of things happening here as Eric Kleinans gives his views for his team, Canyon Toe Peak. It's a very different race to your first one, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, we were 2 riders, 2 staff. That maybe sounds really cool. We had everything packed in the camper, and we didn't have an easy up. It was obviously always A to B every day.
Yep. Point to point race.
Yeah, point to point, and the competition was basically you ride into the day. Halfway into the race, there was often the mixed team, even women team with you around, and then towards the end, the speed really picked up. So it was very chilled and very family style.
Nice to see that. Julian Jessup there, the young South African cross-country star, and Matthijs Bierkes of Team Page Eurosteel. I think that they've probably ridden themselves into the red jersey today because they finished really well here ahead of Saru. In fact, they might have just rolled in now. But a really good ride from Jessup and Bierkes. Of course, Bierkes riding with Jessup because Philip Bass, the preferred first choice for Page Eurosteel, no longer in the race. Well, he didn't even start the race due to illness. That's why Jessup is riding. So I think, they may well be in the Absa Africa jersey by the end of today, because Stuart Marais and Stuart and his partner HP Krier for Ellsworth ASG a little bit off the pace today. So change in dynamic in the African jersey, which is good. So often we've seen that dominated. The Page Eurosteel boys have won it for a number of years, and they've hardly had to relinquish it at all during the race because they've dominated so much. Beautiful day here at Huguenot as we come to the finish of stage 4, day 5 of the Absa Cape Epic. Prologue was the Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Now we're into the 4th big marathon stage. Time trial tomorrow, and then 2 shorter days, but they're really tough. A lot of climbing. I mean, there's mountains here, so they've got to deal with those. That last day, in fact, probably looks one of the hardest last days we've had for a long time.
There's nothing for free the last 2 days. If you look at the profile, it's all up and down. Perhaps a bit of sand on the last day as well, coming closer to Val de Vie. It's really nice if you have a nice gap as a leader going into that last day. You don't want to count on it, but just to have a cushion, it makes you sleep and feel so much better.
Yeah, I remember Jenny Stenach talking to us yesterday about how nervous she was on that last day last year, because they had a 35-minute lead, but they just were, you're going into the last day and anything can happen. Here we go.
It's very funny, actually. People see, you have 5 minutes or 10 minutes or 20 minutes going into the last day. They think, it's easy, it's all done. But actually, if you're the leader, you always worry a bit. And I mean, last year, I don't know how far we're off the Scott in the last day. For Yara and me, I mean, there's no chance we can do anything on the last day. Even you would have the most positive attitude, you would feel Superman. All you could think of, they have a major mechanical, but if there's the backup team with them, what can happen basically, unless you crash out really, really bad.
Lovely Pinto on the right and Carretero, Pinto now on the left and Carretero on the right of Team Buff Scott, and the Centurion Voda winners of the stage into Wellington. Lovely to see.
Wellington is always a great venue. It's probably my favorite venue of all. The riding, the spectators, just the whole atmosphere. Very characteristic riding. It's a perfect location to come every time.
Stage present the awards is Robin Devick, Area Head Retail Banking, Absa.
So, podium presentation, flowers for the top 3 teams on stage 4. Yeah, they're so pleased with their performance today. They showed us they can ride prologues, but this is a big marathon stage. And Franz Carretero and Luis Pinto on the podium. Pleased with that as well. Second place, they've defended the yellow jersey.
Sure, they're super happy today, but if you know them, especially Jaro, he also wants a stage win, and hopefully comes together tomorrow. They would deserve it.
Here we go, Geismaier and Robach. They took a gamble, and it paid off handsomely for this pair, taking the win on the stage 4. Centurion Fowler, 10 minutes and 20 seconds down on GC. They've made inroads into Cannondale Factory Racing and into Canyon Toe Peak, neither of whom finished on the podium today. So top 3 today, and it just shows how dynamic this race can be. Well, just 5 minutes, just over 5 minutes between the top 3 teams on GC with 3 stages to go. And it doesn't matter how many times, I'm sure that you don that leader's jersey, it still feels very, very special for the leading team. Whether you picked it up on the first day and keep it till the last, or it's the only time you wear it, it is just magnificent. And that's what we're going to have now. The presentation of the yellow zebra jersey, the leaders, Kulharvi and Grotz, Investec Songo Specialized.
It's also very nice to get those jersey every day, 2 times, perfect giveaway for us as a charity. We often auction them off and make very good money. And the second bonus is you don't have to do super clean washing. You see the Songo jersey is white, and it's hard to keep the white up every day, even you use 3 different jerseys.
Brand new yellow jerseys for Kulharvi and Grotz. Zip them up, and there we go. Your yellow jersey, whereas going into the time trial on day 6 of the Absa Cape Epic, it's Jaroslav Kulharvi from the Czech Republic, America's Howard Grotz of Investec Songo Specialized after another excellent day today. So the men's race is still going on. Of course, there are lots of categories coming in and lots of riders still coming in. We're going to be going back to the women's race and seeing how that unfolds very, very shortly. Just confirming then, Investec Songo Specialized, 4 minutes and 9 seconds over Fumic and Avancini, and Lecata and Heineck in 3rd place, 5 minutes and 22 seconds for the time trial. On the very first day, this man sitting alongside me said Robach and Geismaier are going to be very dangerous later in the week, and they are showing that. They won the stage today. They're 10:20 off the pace today. Will they have it in them over the last few days? It's going to be interesting to see how they do over the last few days. Christoph, you think they're going to get on the podium by the end of this race?
It's very likely happening.
Yeah.
I do, if they have similar strengths as the other year. They were always up with us last year towards the end of the day. The last stage they were roaring from the beginning to the end, and I still have that in my head, the two readies in the front.
There they are, the readies going flat out there. Robach and Geismaier, no question, Daniel Geismaier is in the form of his life here this year. Robach is an immensely strong rider himself, but there were times he had to hang on to the Austrian. Brilliant job. Stage win, and this was the race for 2nd place. It didn't come down to a sprint. Kulharvi had done so much of the work on the front with Grotz on his wheel that Buffscott, Pinto and Carretero already there just saying, well done, we've done our job here. 3rd place, we're very happy with that.
Yes, there's 2nd or 3rd, it doesn't really matter at the end. What's cool is if you sprint for it and you get a bit of excitement and adrenaline going, but result-wise, it's not a big difference. And I also think prize money, it's not going to make a big lunch at Telegraph or something.
Well, there we go. Just a look over his shoulder, Kulharvi, and Grotz finishing in second place today, and Buff Scott in third place. The drama of today, it unfolded out there. You'll be able to see all our highlights. We have cameras out there, of course, capturing all the critical moments that we won't be able to see. We won't be able to see live, but they will be on our highlights show this evening. You'll be able to watch those on your various platforms wherever you are in the world from the Absa Cape Epic. Of course, the women are heading into the finish here. Investec Songo Specialized, Annika Langval and Kate Courtney, a handsome lead coming into today's race to see if they can solidify their positions in the lead in those orange leaders jerseys. Great to see the youngsters out here watching the world's top mountain bikers come in to the finish here. Yesterday was a holiday, but today for most of these youngsters it is a school day, but they've got a fairly large portion of the morning off to come and watch the racing on what is a really hot day in Wellington.
I believe the leading woman must be somewhere in the descent now, and can't be too far away anymore.
Christoph, thanks very much for joining us. Keep an eye on this. We love hearing your insight and your knowledge and experience.
Thank you very much, and enjoy it, and looking forward to tomorrow.
And well done to your boys, Kulharvi and Grotz. Keep it going. That's Christoph Sauser, 5-time winner, an absolute legend. Of course, he's a superstar, as a World Cup overall winner, world champion on the cross-country and marathon. Fantastic to have him here, giving up time to come and chat to us in the commentary position. So we're waiting the women to reach the finish here at Wellington, and Philemon Sabona and his partner Peter de Tooy rolling across the finish line. What an experience for young Peter de Tooy. A year ago he was at Hoër Volksskool in Potchefstroom finishing his final year of schooling, and he got a contract. He went to the World Championships as South Africa's junior champion last year, did fairly comfortably there, although he'll obviously look to improve on that, but he's a big strong man, and he got called up into the Pyga Eurosteel team the day before the race due to the illness to Philip Bass, which elevated Julian Jessup to ride alongside Matthijs Beerkes. And Jessup was going to ride with Philemon Sabona, and now it is young Peter de Tooy and Philemon Sabona. So a great experience for these two young men to enjoy the Absa Cape Epic together. Great job. That's the finish scene here. Beautiful looking of the Hawekwa Mountains up in the distance there. They preside over this terrain. Talk about this for timing. How about this for timing? Because few people have spent more time in that orange jersey than the young woman who's sitting next to me now. Ariane Gluti, welcome.
Thanks.
It's the last place you want to be, I know.
Yeah, I wish I was on that wheel now.
Yeah, I bet you do. I bet you do. It's a very sad situation that I saw Ariane on the start line this morning. An emotional time for you there as well, because your dream had ended for 2018.
Yeah, really sad. Gita fell ill tonight and got a fever, and yeah, we checked with the doctors this morning, and having a fever is just too high of a risk to affect your heart. And I mean, we're really giving our everything in this race, and we push our boundaries to the limit, but there's just one thing we need to look out for, and that's our health. And yeah, today we just had to make that call.
You were in your kit at the start there, and I suppose that's your positive vibe. You just like hope it might just happen.
Yeah, look, I mean, I had to just prepare myself for maybe, we could still start. I mean, last night she also already had a high temperature, and this morning it just didn't go away. And I mean, we saw the doctor basically only at 6 o'clock, and I normally warm up at 6:30, so I just had to be ready,
Yeah. Well, it's really, really sad news for you, and you were going so well, riding with a brand new partner. I mean, when did you actually meet him?
Well, yeah, we haven't met before. I mean, obviously we raced each other somewhere at the World Cup, but I haven't even noticed her much. Yeah, we basically just met. It was 2 weeks before where I was like seriously looking for a new partner, and I called the Epic, and they gave me the contact of Gita. I have some Belgian connections, and they told me, listen, this woman is really strong, try her. And so I did, and I was really glad I did, even though it ended as it did. But she was incredibly strong, and I mean, we fought really hard, and I'm very proud of what we did.
Yeah, she's what we've seen of Gita Michiels. She'll be back here, I'm sure, to put in a really big effort. She's got a big heart. We don't want to hurt that heart anymore.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. So here's the women's race, and your old teammate Annika and her new partner Kate Courtney have now got a really strong hold on it, haven't they?
Yeah, no, I mean, I must say I'm super impressed with how Kate is riding. I mean, she's super young and still very unexperienced with this race. And I tried to find some weaknesses of her. I mean, we were really trying very hard to make it difficult for them, but she just absolutely didn't show any weakness, and that's super impressive. I mean, we all know how strong Annika is, well, especially I know. And I wasn't very worried about her, but I mean, even for her, it's a difficult job to be a leader and also to do a lot of work in the front, and anything can happen to anyone. So well done to them. They've showed really great riding so far.
She is immensely strong. The raw power she has.
Yes.
I mean, it's not dissimilar, I suppose, to Yarrow and Howard there as well. So managing that and managing your partner through that, who might not have that same power, it's a great skill, isn't it?
It is very, very hard, really, and it's all about communication there. I mean, I luckily was always used to riding with a stronger rider, having come from the mixed racing, you know. And I kind of knew my limits, and I spoke them out, and that was kind of our recipe for success with Annika and I. And I don't know exactly how it works between Kate and Annika, but also just Kate seems to be really, really well prepared. She's done the miles, she's really prepared well for here. So I guess they're really working well together.
Well, it bodes well for the future, because Kate's a new rider to the event. I mean, Gita, unfortunately, not riding any longer, but at least a new experience for her, and I'm sure one that she'll want to come back and experience in the future. So some new blood coming into the event.
Yes, exactly. That's actually very exciting. You know, even though I would have loved to race with Annika again, it didn't happen, but it's actually good that we've got some new ladies here already gathering a bit of experience, and you know, we just all hope that this women's field is going to grow. It did already so tremendously over the past years, and I think it's going to just go up from here, and that's really exciting to see.
Yeah, I mean, obviously the illness and injuries that plagued the women's field, Adelaide Morat had an injury before the race, Christina, your partner, had an injury, Bianca Hoare had an injury, and that would have swollen the team. This is, I think, our leading team. Yeah, the pink bike, you cannot miss that pink bike, can you? Of Kate Courtney on the descent, and Annika flying down. Unfortunately, our images will be compromised at times by the signal, but we'll do our best to bring you what we can as they fly. You know these trails very well, I'm sure.
Yes, I've trained around here, and obviously I went scouting the routes. I tried my best to prepare for this race, and obviously riding the trails that we're allowed to ride, I did that. And I noticed descent. It's actually pretty smooth and pretty easy in comparison to what they've gone through already this day. So now it's basically just sailing to the finish, and hopefully just keeping that focus up to not make a mistake.
You just touched on that one imponderable, making a mistake, and it happens. I mean, yesterday we saw Annika and Kate ride into the back of a stationary men's team in a sandy patch. It could have ended really, really horribly for them, but they were up and going, and that's what happens at the deep end of a stage and a race.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, one is so tired already. You know, it's really the fourth really hard day, very long hours in the saddle. The sun is really burning now. One is a bit dehydrated. Maybe the sugar levels drop at some stage, and it just takes that one moment, that branch in the way, that rock in the way, and anything can happen. If you're really unlucky, you fall in a way that just destroys your whole race.
Yeah, we've had it with Esther Sus and her partner, so it does happen. Now at the fourth water point, this was a long way from here, but this is all we can bring you, is that Investe Songo Specialized had a lead of 4 minutes on Silverback KMC and Ascenders Health, who we were watching earlier on the trails on the far side of the Slung Traverse, but this team has been utterly dominant. I suppose the question that many have been and are asking is, does Kate have it to continue on? I mean, she's had 4 days now and she's no problem, but managing her efforts and again going back to that point of just managing to stay with Annika's unbelievable power. But then they've got a big lead in hand.
Yeah, that's the thing. So I mean, we obviously wanted to try keep the pressure on them and hope for some perform some mistakes from their side. But now, I mean, they really have a comfortable lead in first place. So I mean, now they don't have to push it all the way to the limit, and I can pace themselves nicely. That really allows a little bit more of a breather, but still, you got to finish it. And as everyone knows who's done the epic, no meter comes for free here, so she still has a lot of work ahead of her.
Just breaking to you, little pause there, just finding the right trail. Off we go.
Don't take a wrong turn, Annika.
No, we don't want to go there again.
No. Shame.
So, your plans now for the next while?
Well, yeah, I mean, I really went through the emotions this morning, and 1 second I felt very sorry for myself and especially for Gita, you know. I mean, she came out here and she really wanted to give her best, and I mean, it's so hard to let a whole team down, but it's, yeah, I mean, all you can do is now look ahead. I mean, it doesn't help anyone to look back and think what we could have done different. So.
And so what's your next goal?
My next goal is actually European Marathon Champs in a month's time. It's exactly in a month. So yeah, I'm grabbing onto that goal and really work towards that now.
And this is Kate is she's saying
tap it off
a little here. I'll be with you.
It was a long day.
Yeah.
It was a long day.
She's a young woman with an immense talent. She's the World Cup under 23 champion from last year. She won 3 or 4 rounds of the World Cup. She finished second at the World Championships in the under 23 to Sina Fry after a nasty crash in the World Champs. So she's a serious talent, and so great to have a young rider like this coming to take on the Absa Cape Epic. I know Jolanda Neff and Maya Wozlowska were going to come and ride it. Unfortunately, Jolanda had an injury. But the more and more of these young, talented cross-country riders we have here, it can only bode well for the future of this women's race.
Yeah, exactly. And the nice thing is also, you know, we haven't had an American lady here racing, and I think she brings a bit more spectators from that side as well. And I mean, it really, I think it creates a big fuss about the women's racing, those two riding together. So I'm very pleased to see them doing so well, even though would have liked
you
to
like to be racing against them and beating them, actually.
Well, yeah, we obviously tried, yes.
Yeah. It's I mean, you were looking, I mean, you know, it wasn't by any means over, but you were looking very, very close. They're the kids from Huguenot High School, which is where we are here. And it's a beautiful, beautiful hot day out here. Feeding and hydration out on the road. There were times when, you know, one of you strong ones feeling the heat. When you get to a water point, take it in turns there?
Well, we actually both always stopped and just took our own bottles. Yeah, it's quite difficult, especially also with Gita. She actually had a camelback because she couldn't fit a second bottle on her seat post. It's quite tricky actually because some ladies are just not quite as tall, and yeah, it's I mean, with a specialized epic that I have, I can fit 2 bottles in the frame, which is really nice, but not all the bikes have that, so you got to make a plan. And I mean, she had to grab her camelback herself. I can't really it doesn't really help to take it for her.
Oh, that's fantastic, isn't it? Epic. Hoërskool, the Huguenot Laerskool, actually, that L, that's the primary school. Now, earlier on, we actually saw them create an image of save water.
Oh, shame.
So they're mindful of the distressing situation that we find ourselves in down in the Western Cape here, the drought. This is brilliant. They've rehearsed this, they've planned it, we've seen it at the Tour de France. This is the Tour de France of mountain biking. Welcome to it, the Absa Cape Epic. And well, news that the Investec Songo Specialized had 10 minutes of a lead on Silverback KMC and Ascendus Health. So that's a monstrous lead. And that was at the top of Baines Kloof, or just as they were going down Baines Kloof. So just absolutely dominating now the Investec Songo Specialized. The chill zone here at the Absa Cape Epic. Riders can relax there, but I think these are plenty of supporters who are awaiting their friends and family here at the finish. Lovely to see in the chill zone. I think we're with one of our e-bike riders. Is this Thomas or Stefan? I'm not sure. But nice to... it's one of our cameramen out there. Let's hope he doesn't sit down and have a beer just yet. A little bit of work to do. Incredible races. You've done races all over the world, and I know you've had that experience, but there are not many like this, are there?
Yeah, I must say the Absa Cape Epic is a really special one, especially on my calendar. I kind of launched my career with this race. My mountain biking career kind of started in South Africa. I wasn't even meant to become a mountain bike professional until I got here, and then I just grabbed up the opportunity. And the Absa Cape Epic, with the media coverage they have, they can create so much that you can actually make it as a professional. Otherwise I would never have thought of it. And from there I slowly worked it up, and winning some mixed category titles really launched my career, and I'm very thankful for that.
I mean, you're a superstar in South Africa, and it's fantastic that you choose to stay on and still stay on here and then come and race here. I know you live a lot of the year in Switzerland now, back home, but what's your status at home in Switzerland? Is there a profile there?
Well, I'm definitely much more known here in South Africa. It's very hard to compete against my Swiss compatriots who are just absolutely top class. I mean, I'm competing there against Nino Shorter and Jolanda Neff, who both in the rainbow jerseys at the moment. So it's very tough competing against that. But and I mean here, I've really raced most of my career here. Yes. I've got my team Spur here, and also just with the Spur Mountain Bike Schools League, it's kind of I kind of gathered a little bit support there from the kids, I think, as well, and that's really, really nice for me to see.
That is a program, and I know Switzerland have an amazing program for bringing youngsters into the sport. That's the drop off Bainskloof down onto the trails once they come off the southern side of Bainskloof. Where the focus is skills in Switzerland, very much when you start riding as a youngster. Yeah, it's a little bit different with the racing of the Spur race, but we're sort of getting there slowly but surely with the skills.
Yeah, I actually can't even exactly tell how the Swiss program looks like.
You weren't part of it, were you?
No, I wasn't part of it. I was swimming at that time when everyone of those youngsters were racing their mountain bikes. But I must say, I mean, it's just about creating a good racing series, a great vibe about mountain biking, and it's a fine balance between challenging the kids and over challenging them. So I think South Africa will find its way there as well, and it's just about the time it takes.
Just a quick illustration that Julian Jessup and Peter Dutoy, two young men who are racing at the sharp end here, both took part in that Spur league. Peter Dutoy actually even as late as last year. Now this is the second team on the route at the moment. It is Team Ascendus Health and the team of the Silverback KMC, Mariska Strauss and Annie Last. So they are...
Robin is just struggling a little bit to keep up with that pace. I mean, it's 3 cross-country riders in the front there. They've got amazing skills. Robin has really developed her skills a lot over the years, and she's very, very good. But just, I mean, there's still a slight difference. You can see that.
It comes back to what we were talking about earlier, starting early as a cross-country racer. You pick that up straight away. And yes, we can, as older adults, try and get to grips with it. But if it's been imprinted on you as a youngster, then it's there forever, isn't it?
Yeah, it's definitely so. I mean, I also started very late into mountain biking, and it's so hard to make that up what you missed. And I saw that in swimming as well. You're just never quite as natural as someone starting swimming with 4 years old. Yeah. In comparison to someone starting with 20 years old, there's just some stuff missing. But yeah, I mean, I also worked very hard on it. You can definitely improve a lot, and I mean, Robin shows that as well. I mean, it's all world-class mountain bikers here. Annie Last won a World Cup. I mean, to keep up with those in the downhill, you gotta need serious skills.
This is our leader, the leading team, Courtney and Langval heading towards the finish of stage number 4 on the corrugations of the roads around Wellington.
Horrible. I can
don't
just
we
feel
love
that
them,
bumpiness. No, it's horrible, especially if the legs are tired. Those little bumps on the road, it's just eating your energy so much.
Mariska Strauss on the front, Annie last behind her. That's Team Silverback KMC, second last year at the Absa Cape Epic. And guess what? They're second this year again now. And behind them Send Us Help. I know every time I'll say that it'll hurt around just for a little bit because that was where they were. But that's the nature of the sport. And now Kate on the front here, just setting the tempo as they close in on home. Just to bring you up to date quickly, we did mention the Absa African men's race. It's now the jerseys with Bierkes and Jessup and Page Eurostia by 3 minutes and 28 seconds from Kruger and Maria today. That's overall, in fact, after stage 4, or this is on stage 4? After stage 4. And then in third place, Tim Hammond and Arne de Toy, 11 minutes 49, and just behind them, Dylan Rebello and Marco Hubert, 2 young men who ride for Mbuko Momsen. Matt Beers and Nico Bell having a really tough week. They're in 5th place in that jersey. Down past the vineyards, Mariska and Annie. New combination last year, and they got to work together really, really well to finish in 2nd place. Sabine and Robin racing again together this year, now in 3rd place.
Yeah, I must say I was always super impressed with Mariska and Annie as well. I mean, when they were on our heels on the 2nd stage, you know, they really showed what classy riders they are, and it was super tough to stay with them there through the technical sections especially. But then also Robin and Sabine, I heard Sabine actually had a bit of a health issue this week, so she wasn't quite up to par where she normally is. And Robin, leading up to this race, she had a huge battle with an injury. So it's very tough, and it's very hard for me to watch it actually, because you're almost like, you want them to do all well. It's all good friends actually off the bike, you know. And yeah, it's hard to kind of take party for any of the teams because they're all really great women out there.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, you've ridden with a number of them, you've ridden against them, so it's absolutely, it's an emotional roller coaster, I'm sure, for you. Down go, talk about roller coasters, and beautifully marked, no problem about that. And Kate and Annika, these vineyard climbs on the low slopes of the Hawekwa Mountains, anyone who's ridden a race in this part of the world will know they are so punishing, and you know the route will just take you up that little one there. 1 block, is it 2 blocks up the vineyard, and then you
yeah, you can basically smell the finish from there where they are, and but it's still such a slog, and you know, it's sandy, and then it catches your wheel a bit around a sandy corner, and you have to accelerate again, and it's just, your legs are absolutely burning. I mean, now one can't actually blow up anymore, really. It's just about suffering through the pain. It's really painful at that stage of a race.
They know they're close to home. They can almost hear, as Arena saying, the finish, and you've just got to hang in very cautiously around the corners here.
Shame. Yeah, concentration drops and energy drops, so they're not quite taking these corners anymore as in a cross-country race. Annika actually, in our very first epic, she told me like she absolutely feels like a snail in comparison to what she does in a cross-country race, and it was such a weird feeling for her going at such a slow speed towards the end of the stage race. I was kind of used to that. It's my normal pace, my normal pace almost. But for those, you know, it's actually mentally quite hard to feel this slow, but still have to keep on going.
Interesting insight. That it's and that therein is the thing. You've got to mentally drop back, drop a few gears, and just pace down.
You almost have to tell your body, okay, now we're going to turn and we're going to put that outside foot down and lean the bike into the corner. It doesn't just come automatically anymore because all the muscles are so stiff.
5Ks out they are from the finish here. Little look over her shoulder, Annika to Kate. You've done some cross country. You did a few last year, did a few the year before. Is that on your menu this year?
Actually, this year I will mostly focus on marathon racing. If I do a cross-country race, it will be more like for training and just keeping up a little bit like sharp and also keep my technical skills up there. But it's hard to mix it all in. It was a very, very good experience, and I'm very grateful to my team for allowing me to gather that learning experience in the cross country. This year I've got some very big goals in marathon racing. I really want to do well at European Champs in a month, and then in September at World Champs, and that's going to be my major focus.
Yeah, World Champs. It's you've been so close to that podium and so close getting up there. Where is it this year?
This year in September it will be in Italy, in the Dolomites, a beautiful area. It's called the Trecime. I've done the race last year to test the route and scout a bit the trails there. It's a really beautiful route, quite technical as well, but loads of climbing.
And the world marathon champion is that lady in front there,
Exactly.
Annika.
It's the woman to beat every year. No, she's absolutely incredible in terms of her power that she has, the talent that she has. It's really incredible. And I mean, I've felt her power over many, many days in this race. But I mean, that's the thing, there's no set ranking in this world, and one can always have a bad day. And everyone just has to go out there and try its best every day. Every race starts from fresh.
So this is second place, Annie last, and Mariska Strauss. Now, where are
I think
Team Ascenders? They may have dropped off this, because I think there's a couple of the Exaro riders are riding with that group. So it looks like Annie and Mariska found their legs today. A quick chat to Annie yesterday after a ride, and she said that Mariska did have a tough day yesterday. They did have a puncture. She said, we were very surprised. We actually fixed it very quickly, but Mariska just had one of those days, which happens, as you were talking about now. But she's looking really strong now, she and Annie, as they power towards the finish.
Mariska is good on the flats there, really. And I think also what's deciding here, there's so many loose corners, and those two ladies definitely have slightly better cornering technique, and that just saves that little bit of energy, those few meters that they get ahead, and eventually that just snaps the elastic from Team Ascenders to them.
Boom, boom, go a few male egos as they surge past him on the climb there.
Exactly.
I think we also saw Lucky Klangeni and Tepa Klo, the leaders in the Exaro Academy, the Exaro PWC 1. And this is back with Kate and Annika.
Yeah, they're almost home.
Formidable combination. Vestec Songo Specialized. Annika won the World Cup in Stellenbosch a few weeks ago. Showed incredible strength there, and already there we knew that she was going to be a power in this event. What the unknown was, how would she and Kate gel? Well, there's no question they worked beautifully together, and that was another perfect example. Little short climb, Annika just let Kate take the climb and move ahead, and they're now on the flats heading towards the finish.
Yeah, it's impressive that Kate actually still takes a bit of a turn here. I mean, that she still has the strength to do that. But there goes Annika in the front again when it's really about getting some slipstream in the flat parts. And she does that beautifully in a time trial position. Kate as well, not scared to take her hands off the handlebars. It's actually a fairly comfortable position, but you got to have a bit of skill and definitely the balance, and not being scared of
and on these
being on the wheel like that.
Yeah, the corrugated roads can be tricky to master if your hands are down there, but no problem at all. Look at the form, the shape of Annika Langveld there. That time trial position is just fantastic.
She's actually been 6th in a World Road Race Championship time trial. Just before we actually did our very first race together in 2013, and I mean, she basically came from nowhere and just finished 6th. And if one knows how those road riders prepare for that and how strong they actually are, it was absolutely incredible. So that just shows what power Annika brings to the table here.
Well, they would have put a few of the roadies' noses out of joint for sure as a mountain biker pitches up and finishes 6th. So Annie last onto the front here. What a year Annie had last year, having finished 2nd here. She won a World Cup in Lenzerheide, first British woman to win a World Cup in 20 years, and then went on to finish second at the World Championships, and she's just gone from strength to strength. Wonderful to see. Here is Ascendus Health, and Sabine and Robin on the front here.
Robin is such a fighter, it's really amazing. I mean, she would never let go, you know. You can see here, the corners is a little bit her weakness. She always loses a bit of time there. But, I mean, she's just got an incredible fighting spirit. And, you know, even though they drop back a bit, they would never give up and just keep tagging along. And that brought them so far already in many races.
Yeah, Robin came into this race on the back of a really difficult build-up. She picked up, it wasn't a crash injury, it wasn't an injury she suffered whilst riding. It was just one of those nagging injuries, a sciatica in the piriformis. And it took a while for her to actually diagnose what the problem was. Various consultations eventually got to the bottom of it, and the recovery process began in November, December, and the preparation for the Absa Cape Epic perhaps began a little bit later than she would really have liked. But she's, as you said, a real fighter.
Yeah, it's incredible. I mean, I raced against them at the Cape Pioneer last year, and it was basically when Robin's injury was at its worst. Yes, she had a few 2 days basically where she was quite off her pace, but she just came back, and I mean, it's incredible how she did despite her injury. And she's just never someone who gives up.
Yeah, they won 4 stages together last year. Quite incredible, Sabine and Robin.
Yeah, last year Robin was in absolute amazing shape. I mean, I've never seen her this strong. Also considering she opened the season with Attakwas racing against Annika, and she was just off the pace of Annika, and I mean, that was just an incredible performance. And I mean, I raced many times against Robin, and I've got huge respect for her. She's come from the roads, she's had a career already there. Then she found her love for mountain biking, and she really is an absolute star here.
Well, again, I think that you've just alluded to something that the emotion that you as athletes have to deal with when you are in such peak form, and she was in great form last year and it didn't go well.
Yeah.
You won Attakwas in extremely impressive fashion this year. Let's break for this, because this is the turn into the finish here. Annika Langveld and Kate Courtney putting the finishing touches to another remarkable day by this combination.
Beautiful birthday present for Annika. So she's turning 34 today. We've celebrated together a few years.
Yes.
And it's very nice to see her winning here. Still good friends. Even though we fought very hard out there, elbow on elbow, and there was definitely a very tough fight against them, but still good friends, and it's nice to see them doing so well with the whole team Specialized.
And Kate will look right to see the tents and know that this is the finish. Annika will have known this before this very area. They turn right and onto the grass. The leading team in the women's race have put another big marker in the ground here. Annika Langveld and Kate Courtney from Investec Songo Specialized round the last corner. It is stage number 4, win number 5 to add to the prologue victory. Another dominant performance by a truly fantastic team, Kate Courtney and Annika Langveld of Investec Songo Specialized. Very, very impressive indeed.
Well done. Yeah, incredible.
Emotional
almost
time
makes
again.
You cry.
Yeah. It's a sweet victory it is, and a birthday present for Annika, and Kate has just emptied herself as ever. Laugh or cry, I suppose.
Yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, it's just so nice to see those emotions. I mean, normally I'm on the other side of the screen here, and it's just, I mean, it brings me to tears myself, because I know how they feel, and it's just, so incredible coming in like this after such a tough day.
Well, excuse me. That's what it does to me. So, I mean, we sit here trying to describe what the feeling is like. What is it like? What is the feeling? What's going through you?
Yeah, it's just, such a relief just having finished another of those days, just ticking one more off. just everything that you can leave behind you, is such an achievement already as such. And then obviously winning one of those, I mean, yes, Specialized, they have incredible great support. I mean, they're super experienced, they've got all they need, but that actually creates a huge pressure. Even though it helps a lot, it also creates a huge pressure, and one mustn't forget that, they have to win almost, because they've got really such a setup behind them. So well done to the girls. I mean, especially Kate, being so young, but then also Annika, she just is expected to deliver, and that's not as easy as it may sound or what you may think. You still have to do all the preparation. You always have to work every day super hard.
Girls, Kate,
keep that
Annika.
focus going all the way, and it's really not that easy. And we're all humans. We've got all emotions, and sometimes, I mean, especially me, I can just speak about me. I mean, sometimes the pressure really got to me, and you just want to do so well for that whole team behind you as well. You don't want to let anyone down, and that's the hard part about Epic. There's such a huge investment into this race, from mechanic to this 1 year to the person driving the camper or whatever, the whole money that goes into, and you just don't want to let your whole team behind down, and especially not your partner. So that's a lot of pressure to cope with.
Whoopsie, getting past the car. Yeah, that's a very interesting insight into the dynamic of this event, because so often it is an individual sport, mountain biking, but the team element does bring a whole different set of emotions along. So let's hear from Kate and Annika.
We didn't know that.
Kate, Annika, what a brutal stage, but you completely dominated, putting a lot of minutes on your rivals and winning on Annika's day.
Didn't feel the
We're not able to communicate or hear from them at this stage. Meanwhile, with Robin de Groot and Sabine Spitz as they charge past the Blue Gums on the right and head towards the finish here.
Yeah, I think they also just playing it consistent, not taking too many risks. They're really going for the long run, and I mean, they're surely pretty happy to now at least be on the podium. And yeah, I mean, there's still a few kilometers to go, and I'm still excited to watch the chasing for second position now that it's open from us.
Yes. Yeah, it'll be a different morning for you tomorrow when you wake up and
I think it will all sink in still. But yeah, for me, I really just have to tell myself to look ahead and not backwards. There's nothing we can change.
That absolutely, you can only but look ahead. Here are Mariska Strauss and Annie Last of Silverback KMC, the South African champion. You can just see the band around her chest there. Mariska and the British champion. Great to see Annie and Mariska. Hi, Annie's matured, and Mariska into super riders in both cross country and the marathons here, and the particularly the Absa Cape Epic.
Yeah, Mariska definitely has an experience also just riding on South African terrain. She's been riding her mom. We've actually been teammates, and we've raced Wines to Wells together very early on. And I still remember it was a shame. Actually, it got cancelled then after stage 2 because it was raining.
Yes, the rain one, yeah.
But yeah, she was still such a young rider, basically the baby in the team, and now we're competing against each other. So yeah, she's just also developed amazingly, and it's great to see that.
Well, Annie is properly powerful as well. And Mariska just having to get out the saddle to say, hang on, I'll get to your wheel.
Yeah, Annie is really built for this race as well. She's got a lot of power on the flat. Her technical skills are super good. I always love following her wheel down the downhills, especially the very rough stuff. Mm-hmm. Some ladies are a little bit cautious there, and she just hits it super hard, and I love to follow her. I always know, okay, if you follow Annie's wheel, you're going to be safe. She chooses the right lines there.
Well, Sabine is another incredible example. She's been riding for so many years, has won everything, all 3 Olympic medals to her name, and still the German champion and a former world champion as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. I mean, every race she's going for, she's really and really aiming for. She's very well prepared. I mean, world champs a year before last year, she was still 3rd. I mean, at her age, that's absolutely incredible. You know, if you know what talent is riding around now. I mean, the youngsters, you know, if they started mountain biking when they were below 10 years old, and they just have incredible skills, and that she can actually still keep up there, also doing so well in the World Cup last weekend, that was absolutely phenomenal.
Second place, Silverback KMC, Annie last, and Mariska Strauss here. And the gap around 7, it's opening up all the time between the leaders who've already done. Now they'll turn in now, come in towards the finish here. So they may have eaten into it. It was 10 minutes at the top of Baines Kloof. They may have taken a minute out of that, minute and a half, as they come to the finish here. Annie and Mariska. They're a party. They love to sing and dance. They're very relaxed. Very nice to see.
Yeah, it's almost sometimes a bit. So you're riding with Mariska and there's someone like chirping a bit, and you're wondering, like, okay, maybe I just need to ride harder because she's
get away from her. She chirpy on the bike.
Yeah, sometimes it's just like wooing and whying, and yeah, that's Mariska.
Yeah, she's a very bubbly personality, which is lovely. And she and Annie will turn in now for Silverback KMC. They've got a couple of pilot fish behind them. I think that's Lucky and Sepo leading the Xara category. And here they go, Annie last and Mariska Strauss. Final bend.
Yeah, it was also really incredible to sprint against Annie. I mean, yeah, you almost could see she wanted to go for another sprint. It's just so, yeah.
Mustn't sprint away for her. She's my teammate. Well done,
exactly.
Mariska and Annie. Second today, second on GC. And another very good ride by Mariska Strauss and Annie last as they roll into the winner's enclosure there. Around about 8 minutes, 8:30, 8.5 minutes down on Investec Songo Specialized.
Well done. They actually closed a bit of time there to the leaders, and I'm sure that's the last few corners through the sand. They took it so smoothly, and that's really the technique that shows off there.
And here come the team Ascendus help, Sabine and Robin. A couple of minutes behind them. They were with them, and then just the last 10 Ks, the pace became a little too hot, and they've dropped back a little bit. They're managing their efforts, and they are in 3rd place on GC, and by quite a comfortable margin. So they need to defend that, I think, for the time being, and consolidate. They've had a tough week, as Ariane was saying. Sabina had cramps on the first day, something she cannot remember when last she had those, so that can get in your mind a bit as well. They'll turn left and then that right, and there they come.
There they are.
Lovely ride by Robin de Groot, South Africa's multi-marathon champion, and Sabine Spitz for Team Ascendus Health, 3rd place on the stage, 10 minutes down on the overall leaders, and about a minute and a half on this pair. Mariska Strauss and Annie last. Let's hear from them.
Yeah, I think it was a long day out there, and it was definitely a lot hotter than it's been. I think well, we both definitely had a little tough point. I lost 2 bottles at the start, and there was a long old climb where I was a bit swinging a little bit, but we topped it with water and came in strong. So good job. Yeah, happy.
Our leaders rode away and put quite a big gap on the field, but you're not so concerned about them, but just ride your own race, your own pace, and try and just keep moving yourselves up.
Yeah, exactly. It's about consistency. It's no point in killing ourselves one day and then not being able to finish the race. So no, very happy with how today went, and managed to save each other. Yeah, actually they attacked when I gave my bottle to Annie, so All good. We made it to the finish and stoked with second. And the hot spot. Oh, yeah.
Oh, congratulations. I mean, cash in the pocket, but also coming good at this stage of the race, 5 days in. Time trial tomorrow, big confidence booster.
Yeah, definitely. I think this course, for today's track was a really good track. Like some nice climbs and some nice single tracks. And tomorrow's time trial is like the same. It's shorter, 38-ish K, 38, 39K. And really looking forward to getting out there and kind of getting into the nice single track groove.
Enjoy the podium, rest up, and have a great one tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Thanks so much. Ciao.
The voice of Robbie McEwen chatting there to Mariska Strauss and Annie Last. Robbie joining us here at the Absa Cape Epic for the first time, just observing. Of course, a man who's won 24 Grand Tour stages, 12 each at Tour de France and at the Giro, as one of the prime sprinters of the early 2000s. Robbie McEwen, the Australian, now part of the commentary team at many of the tours, including the Tour de France. Let's go back down to the finish area. Robin de Groot is with Robbie.
Robin, third on the stage along with your partner Sabina Spitz. Really tough, long day out there, lots of climbing, lots of dust again.
Yeah, it was extremely rocky, a good day. Yeah, I actually found yesterday maybe a bit harder for some reason, but yeah, it was a tussle to the end and more just managing burning feet and things at the end than anything else, yeah.
So staying a little bit conservative and within yourselves to protect that overall classification, maybe not worrying too much about Kate and Annika?
No, yeah, for us we're racing now for second. Unfortunately we got a little bit boxed in on the climbing single track today. There was nothing we could do. We asked to pass and we weren't let pass, so you just got to be patient, and we're not going to battle and push anyone out the way, so it's fine. We'll play the game and we'll keep fighting.
Sabina, a tough day out, but now rest up and hit that time trial and really try and maintain that second overall at the moment.
Yeah, it's definitely we have to look day by day, and you could also see that during the today's stage that here and then also from the other teams you saw the partners been struggling, the strong ones they carry on, but everybody has a bit of a weak moment, and so definitely tomorrow the time trial will be a very tough one, yeah, after the 4 days, and but also I think we don't have to underestimate the following stage, especially also the last day, which was in the past or in the previous years mostly just rolling into the finish, but it's still also a tough stage, which brings us to Val de Vie.
Our leading duo have said it's still not over. We have a good lead, but it's not over. They're wary of everyone and everything. You also haven't given up hope of maybe overhauling them at some stage?
Yeah, absolutely not. As you can see, a lot changed already today, losing Team Spur, and that's really unfortunate. It's but that is this race. The Epic is it is the Untamed, and anything can happen. So
keep punching on. Well done, and good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you. Thanks.
Thank you.
Thanks, ladies.
It's our third place team, Team Ascenders Health. Now the gap to Lungfell and Courtney from Strauss and Last, who in second place, is 32 minutes. But Ariane's sitting alongside me. There are a few issues I want to talk to you about, but one of them is that. I mean, 32 minutes, as you've said before, that's a long way. It can turn around very quickly.
Yeah, it unfortunately can. I mean, Robin and Sabine can really tell the best because they broke a handlebar last year on the second last day, and I mean that really costs a lot of time, and things like that can really happen, and someone can fall ill overnight, as we just saw with our team, unfortunately. But so you just need to keep on going until the finish line is really there.
Now, Robin made a point there that is quite interesting, because the women have their own start batch, so you do have a lot of the time you can race on your own, but you are going to ride into teams, and either they're coming back or they're going past you, whatever it is. And they got boxed in on a single track. They asked if they could come past, and they weren't allowed past.
Yeah.
What's the etiquette going on there?
Yeah, look, it's very difficult to manage this as an organizer. I mean, the Cape Epic fortunately actually always listened to us when we gave some advice how to improve the situation. And it's definitely improved a lot, and the separate start patch is absolutely amazing to have our own race. It's so much more spectator friendly and also just so much more exciting racing. But yeah, we're still going to ride up into slower teams in front of us. And there was always very difficult situations, and actually sadly SSU's partner was in an accident with a man, and that actually ended their race, so it cost another team actually this situation. I'm not quite sure what the golden solution is around here, and definitely, I mean, most men are really nice. They give us way immediately. There's always the one team, you know, that's maybe, I mean, often it's not even on purpose, and they're racing as well, so you can't even really be bad at them. Unfortunately, everyone is in race mode and just fights for their own. But yeah, it's a difficult situation.
It is a tricky one. Now, well, I tell you what, Annika Langville and Kate Courtney ran into a team yesterday. Here's Annika. She's talking to Robbie McKeown.
Heat, sand, dust, mountains, suffering. What a way to spend your birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you. It doesn't feel much of a birthday. No, it was a good day, but it was very, very hard. I think now you can really say that the proper part of the epic has really begun now. It's so brutal out there. It was flat sand riding. It's just so draining. Ania and Mariska, they put the hammer down the first half of the race, and they rode so well. There were moments where I doubted a little bit that we would actually make it through. We were struggling just keeping up with their pace. But then kind of after the hot spot, halfway into the race, the pace dropped, or at least we could kind of pace ourselves a little on a single track climb, and slowly actually a gap opened up, and we just kept it steady there. And up the Bainscliffe Pass, we were told that we had something like 10 minutes a gap, and both Kate and I were quite surprised by it, but also very motivated because we knew that as soon as we got to the top of that pass, it would be more or less downhill to the finish.
I mean, it's getting really hard now after 5 days of racing, and it's a real race of attrition. Teams are starting to fall apart. Does that make you wary of these last 3 days, even though you have a big lead?
You need to pace yourself well every single day. So many factors count into being a strong team all the way through, and we will take good care of ourselves. And then, of course, the more of a nice lead we have, the better, but we still want to ride so concentrated.
That's one thing I was going to mention. Physically is one thing, keeping the legs going, but that concentration when it comes to those technical downhills, do you have a technique when you get to the top to really switch yourself back on?
It's just about really being concentrated, being concentrated.
Just keep telling yourself that all the way down.
I kind of, sometimes I just black out a little bit. I mean, my head is just empty. Just try to stay focused. Yeah.
Good recovery. Good luck for tomorrow.
Thank you.
Interesting thoughts there from Annika. As we see in the foreground there, the Dormakaba team, Amy McDougall and Candice Lill, just having finished the leaders in the Absa African jersey competition there. So this is the story further back there. The maximum time allowed for the stage is 10 hours today. You haven't ridden that long on a stage ever.
Luckily, I've never ridden that long ever in my life, and I actually rather keep it that way. No, it's huge respect to those riders. I mean, the thing is, it's not just the length, it's the heat that just increases and increases in the afternoon here in Wellington. It's absolutely burning, and it's mostly those riders that aren't all too skinny, just not take it the wrong way, but it's affecting them even more. So it really and then, you know, they don't have the capacity to recover as fast as we do. So huge respect of everyone that's
the capacity all the time, and that's the other thing. The 10-hour time is the allowed time for the stage today. And news from the Hyenas, which is the pair of riders arrived right at the back of the field. Rich McMartin is one of them. He sent us a message a short while ago just saying they are taking a tremendous amount of heat out on that technical terrain. They're battling through it, and the epic medals are slipping away from many riders today. So that's desperate for those riders. You're this far into the race, you've gone over halfway, and you hit a stage like today. As Annika just said there, we're now into the epic proper, and we're 5 days in.
Yeah. No, one has to consider there was 3 really hard days. Yesterday, I actually didn't think it was to be that hard. The longest stage, I mean, the longest stage as such is very hard, but the terrain, that first few climbs, they were incredibly steep. And that just takes so much power out of your legs. And then today I rode the section in the middle section of this stage in training, and it's crazy rough. It's really bumpy, it's rough and rocky. So it just sucks up all that energy that you actually still have left. And for the riders, you know, who have family, jobs, and just squeeze in that few hours of training into their weeks, it's super hard to get through this race. And I mean, there's people coming from Northern Europe where it's crazy cold, and they come here to temperatures which are probably 50 degrees higher from where they come from. So all of those factors really make it super tough, and it makes the epic.
Absolutely does. Mariska Strauss and Annie Last of Silverback KMC coming in 3rd place today after you saw the images of Investec Songo Specialized winning the stage and winning it in handsome style. Very impressive. Also by this pair, they had a really tough day yesterday. You might have heard Robin, in fact, saying that she found yesterday harder, a really tough day. I mean, and it's again, each rider, it affects different people in different ways, but you made allusion to the terrain, and that's, I mean, the numbers go out the window, don't they, when the terrain comes into play?
Yeah, that's really about the epic, very special. I mean, you look at the profile and you think, no, that's okay, it looks actually quite flat, not too much climbing, but then you get there and it's sand, it's rocks, and it just eats your power. So you never know really how it's going to be until you really know what the terrain is like, and that's the thing. You just, to go over all those bumps is very tough.
Well, they're coming over those mountains there in their hundreds now, the riders, slowly but surely making their way towards the finish here on the outskirts of Wellington. Huguenot High School is where we are for tonight and tomorrow. Time trial tomorrow, and then our final stage, beg your pardon, we've got another stage in and around the wonderful trails of Wellington, and then our final journey to Paarl, which isn't far. It's just down the road. But as ever in the Absa Cape Epic, they don't follow the road.
No.
It's a very different kettle of fish.
Yeah, I mean, I must say the last stage looks absolutely like a cracker. It can mix up a whole field.
It's interesting because in the past it never has. It's been a pretty much a, not it definitely hasn't been a procession, but it's, it's not been the most testing stage. It is this year.
Yes, definitely. It's really changed a lot in comparison to the last years. The last years it was also kind of maybe one climb in the way, and then it was mostly smooth rolling, and this year it's going to be really testing, and to find the legs on that 8th day again, it's going to hurt a lot.
Well, a lot of riders are going to have to dig very deep, because there's a lot of water to go through between now and then, figuratively speaking, because we've got a time trial tomorrow, 39 kilometers, then about 76 k's the next day, nearly 2,000 meters of climbing. Very similar the next day, as I said, to Paarl. And we all know in this part of the world, Paarl, you can almost see from where we are here. But either side of that flat river, the Berg River Valley that we're in here, are some pretty steep mountains. And Peter van Beek and his team have found some big climbs to get the riders through to get to the finish here. So it's about recovery. Everyone's in here. The girls are going to have a good lunch, massage, sleep this afternoon, some of them?
I didn't manage to. It's you want to, and you're really trying, and you're lying there, but your mind just kind of needs to process that whole day. At least I'm like that. There's definitely people out there that can just switch off a little bit easier, and they get that extra boost of a nap. You're trying to. So it's basically crossing the finish line, getting your first bottle of energy in, and then I mean, the podium winners, they have to do their duties with media, drug control, and then it's back to the camper, and then you have some lunch there. We had some nice catering. You also get a Woolworths bag for eating, and then it's basically massage and off to bed, and then it's almost the next day already. So podium in the evening or dinner, and then you hit the deck, hit the bed.
It is a tough old thing, racing the Absa Cape Epic, be it at the sharp end or at the slightly blunter end of the race, where time is an issue. Those we've illustrated, those riders 10-hour limit. I can hear the music of the podium presentation for the women's race coming up. Even if you're not riding, you've got to rehydrate in this heat. Although Ariane did ride a little bit today, so
it's very warm in here.
Yeah, it is. It's warm. An illustration of just how hot it is here. We've come over the mountains, and we've had sort of four fairly cool days, South Africa wise, but today the heat's going up, and tomorrow I think the maximum temperature could be nudging the mid-30s. So those who are riding later in the time trial may well feel it. Right, let's see if we can get pictures of the presentation, which is happening out there. We go. Ceremony to celebrate those 3 teams who have moved to the top 3 steps of the podium. Third place today, the team Ascender Selper managed their efforts towards the end there when the heat was on. Robin de Groot and Sabine Spitz. Some relief, they've had a tough week, difficult start, and they're now into it, no question. And this pair, second a year ago in the GC, they're second today on the stage. Mariska Strauss, the South African champion, and Britain's champion Annie last. Again, the national champions abound here. South Africa, Britain, as well as Germany. And in the middle, the Danish champion, she's also the world marathon champion, and the United States champion, Anneke Langval, and Kate Courtney from Investec Songo Specialized. The best riders in the world taking on the Absa Cape Epic, the Untamed African Mountain Bike Race, and this is your podium for stage number 4 in the women's race. Winners Investec Songo Specialized, second Silverback KMC, and Ascender Self in third place. And of course, the leader's jersey has not changed hands since the very first day on the slopes of Table Mountain, which seems a long time ago.
Yeah, that's true. It's almost like
a lot of it's another race and another time. A lot has happened between now and then.
Exactly. Yeah, you're so much in a bubble here. I mean, I don't even know anymore what's happening in the world. Sometimes I just need to read the news so that I know that it's actually something else happening in this world.
Total focus, and it's something. It's a word that Anneke has used a lot this week. At the start of the day, very focused. And if you listen to her interviews through the week, that's one word that'll come out a lot. Just focus.
Yeah, you just do not want to lose this epic because of a silly mistake. And she knows. I mean, we missed an arrow at one stage, and you just don't want to make back this hour. You know, if you make a little mistake, it can hurt you so much. And I mean, we've experienced that together a lot. So that's why she's definitely very concentrated on just not getting that mistake.
What does that feel like?
Yeah, it feels pretty good. Yeah, well, they really deserve it. They're super strong. So.
Absolutely. They are the absolutely preeminent team in the race at the moment. Investec Songo Specialized, Anneke Langval and Kate Courtney, and they've done it again. They've won another stage, and they have a very comfortable lead. I say the preeminent team at the moment because we all know what can happen in this race, and evidence of which is sitting right next to me, I'm afraid. Ariane Lucci, who lost her partner earlier today, Gita Michels, ill last night and couldn't race this morning. So Ariane and Gita out of the race, but thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, thanks. It was actually nice to see, how this whole show goes from the other side, and I mean how much the Cape Epic does, and in terms of media coverage, it's really great to see, and it really actually allows us to be professionals. Our sponsor invests a lot in us, and they need something back, and that's really very important. And we obviously love to entertain the world with our racing, and I hope they will keep on watching.
We will do. Thanks very much, Ariane.
Thank you.
Dare I say, we may see Ariane before the end of the race is over. We're not going to hold you to it. I know you've got other training commitments and things, but lovely to have you still with the race and still smiling here after an emotional start to the day. What a day we've had here at the Absa Cape Epic. Day 5 and stage 4 has seen Investec Songo Specialized take hold of both those leaders' jerseys very, very firmly indeed. And the men's, quite perhaps Howard Grotz and Jaroslav Kulhavi still have a lot of pressure on them. Likewise, Anneke Langval and Kate Courtney, but the buffer is not too, is quite big behind them. We hope you've enjoyed our coverage today. We'll bring you more tomorrow from the time trial, 39 kilometers. A brutally hard one it will be. We'll be a little bit earlier with you tomorrow. I think our on-air time might be around about 8 o'clock tomorrow morning. But check out the Absa Cape Epic website. Make sure you're with us, and we'll bring you that action from the Absa Cape Epic. Thanks, Ariane, and thank you for joining us. We'll see you tomorrow.